Well, hello, 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 hello. Welcome back to another episode of IZB TV. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, your son, and we are doing our 100 subscriber special. Dude, you guys, we actually did it. After all these years, we finally hit 100 subscribers. And I was like, okay, what would be the best way for us to celebrate? And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm very equipped to do like hot chip challenges or anything crazy or weird like that. So I was like, oh, I've got a buddy. I've got a super cool dude that I know, and he is an absolute awesome dude when it comes to anything regarding cinema, excellent perspectives. And so, without further ado, let me introduce an excellent, amazing, incredible dude. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, I've got it down here right at the bottom, Tectashstation and there, whatever. But dude, welcome to the IZB TV Polite Shade Kingdom, my brother, Tectashstation. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Pretty
How
good.
about yourself?
Oh, just living it up, getting ready to do some scary makeup and there, or at least try to. And that, I mean, it's probably going to be really cheesy, but we're going to try and do it.
Well, like they say, there's good cheese and bad, right?
Dude, I like
So,
all kinds of cheese. I like all the cheese. Give me extra cheese. Are you
true.
kidding?
What you can say about it, it's always fun. Even if it's good or bad, it's always provides entertainment of some sort, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So, dude,
Yes.
since everyone is definitely probably way over familiar with my goofy ass and whatever, I wanted to see if you'd maybe take a moment to kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your channel, and if you can, just tell us a little bit about Tectashstation. Tell us about the Tectash.
All right. I will gladly. So, as you all know, love movies. I actually, believe it or not, the reason why it's kind of ironic that I did Godzilla minus one, my first review,
Such a good review.
was because, yes, because that's actually, believe it or not, what got me into like cinema when I was younger was watching Godzilla movies because I'm like a sucker for anything that's like big dragons or dinosaurs. I was always like a dinosaur kid.
Yes, sir.
So with Godzilla, I just always liked the verses, Godzilla versus Megalon versus Biolante, any of that kind of stuff. So I remember when we had a camcorder, for the brief time we had it, I had these toy dinosaurs that I would make fight. And it was funny, you realize that as you're a kid, movie magic takes a lot more than just pointing a
Yes,
camera at something.
definitely, definitely.
So I would record them fighting and and I thought it was so funny because I was so upset because it looked like what it was. You know what I mean? Like it was like okay, it looked like somebody
Playing with
holding hold,
dinosaurs.
playing with dinosaur toys, and it so did not look like a giant guy in a suit
No,
body slamming
sure.
the other monster.
No, sure.
But
But dude,
so
good on you for actually like trying it. There's so many people out there that like never even like try that kind of stuff or whatever. And like, I don't know, you actually tried to like do something. You tried to recreate it. So that's dope. Dude, that's so cool. I don't know if you've ever told me that before.
no, I didn't. So and it was funny because I painted one of the dinosaurs green because that's my favorite color, as you know.
Yes, sir.
But it's like so that kind of got me like just to like movies in general. And then I started, obviously it grew from there, but that's where I started. It's weird because, we all start out on different things, but that is kind of like the birth of Tech Tash's enthusiasm for cinema does come
Yes.
from Godzilla. So I thought it was like awesome because when I saw Godzilla minus one, honestly, I had kind of been like put through the ringer by a lot of monster movies where I was kind of like, they're not really like, like when you're a kid, they're cool. But then when I saw Godzilla minus one, everyone was bugging me to watch it. And I'm like, okay, all right, all right. Like everyone was talking about it. And then when I watched it, I was like, actually like, oh wow. Not only was it like scratched the Godzilla itch, it was genuinely a good movie.
That's what you were
So then I was
saying.
like, yeah, no, it. it really like honestly, and I even will state this, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it is like if I had to recommend, because admittedly some of them are like, if this makes sense, kind of junk food,
Yes.
where they're like, okay, you know, if you like, if you kind of have a guilty pleasure of watching stuff blow up and creatures smash into each other, then it's cool for that, and like, it'll satisfy your inner like 13-year-old. But for me, that one was like, oh wow, it was like a good movie. Like it was like heartfelt. It surprisingly was compelling. It was paced well. Kind of reminded me of like a modern day like Jaws, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, so then it kind of like it made me realize like I like when I can feel like a kid again
Yes.
and have that childlike enthusiasm. So
Definitely.
it was like, yeah, like that's where it started from there. And you know, obviously Jurassic Park was kind of like, it was weird because that was another kind of pivotal point in my life too. Was okay before that you had the Godzilla movies, which were cool, right? But it was a guy in a suit, right?
Yeah.
And they did the best of what they could. Jurassic Park, especially for like effects, it came obviously right on the heels of after Terminator 2, another big pioneer in special effects.
Yes.
But Jurassic Park was like, no, this isn't a dude in a suit. Dinosaurs are real.
No,
Like,
they really honestly like I mean,
yeah,
like, granted, it's like when we were kids when we first saw it and never, but like you were watching and you're like, holy freaking crap, like
yeah.
dinosaurs are
You didn't have
real.
to play. You didn't have to play pretend. It was like, no, dude. And honestly, I challenge anybody, go back and watch that T-Rex scene in the rain. It still looks magnificent. Like it looks incredible.
Oh yeah, dude. Like just like
Looks great.
so believable, so terrifying, and like I don't know, man. Like they like were literally pushing the bounds back then. Like they were doing some
Oh yeah.
really incredible stuff with that CGI back in the day. The
Oh yeah,
CGI, the
especially
practical effects.
absolutely like the it was weird like that was in the Stone Ages too. You know, that was back when CGI was just, you know, not really a thing, and it was like it was in the Stone Ages of it, like I said. And just everything about it, like the opening, you know, the shoot her line, the shoot her, you know, that was like
Shoot
crazy.
her!
Yes, shoot. I always remember saying that when I was a kid, and obviously shouldn't say that in public. But I remember that line sticking in my head, and or I remember, you know, clever girl. And it may
Clever
even sound,
girl.
it might even sound sound funny. I always am reminded of like how staple like when they're eating in that room with the Jello, the kids.
Oh
It's so,
yeah.
dude. It's so. What I like about that scene is it's so well lit. It got so much life to it. But like the Raptors are legitimately like that's one of my favorite chase scenes in cinema. It builds anxiety so well. Like you're like,
Oh dude,
oh
for sure. Or like when they do like the fake out with like the reflective cabinets and that kind of stuff.
yes, oh I love that. That was such a good scene. Yes, no, it was. It makes sense if this makes sense. Obviously, and Jurassic Park's gotten pretty silly at this point, but I'm gonna
A
say,
little bit. A
yeah,
little
but
bit.
I'm gonna say, in fairness to them, I'll cut them this tiny little break. It's no wonder they were never able to top the first. It's so perfectly good that it's like there's nowhere to go but down, kind of, in my opinion.
Right.
So
Well, hopefully, I don't know.
yeah,
Hopefully, we get like a return to form where it's like I'm not here. Like we've discussed this before. It's like we have our opinions or things like that, or like I feel like sometimes there is that stuff where you're like, okay, that's just bad versus that's good. But like
exactly. Yes,
I don't know. It's like I would much rather see a return to like the original Jurassic Park movies versus like I don't know with the new ones. I feel like I don't know if it's like a case of like they're just trying to constantly like not one up each other and that kind of stuff. Like, oh well, we already did this, so now we've got to do this big crazy dinosaur, like this big crazy dinosaur. It's just like
yeah. Well, it's
I just don't like the
the best
new
way I can
ones.
the best way I can describe it is I think this is kind of the big stumbling block when I thought about it. Okay, the first one revolutionized special effects, right? Okay, it's kind of different this way. Like I kind of was like, okay, why don't the sequels work? Like there's other sequels that either match or sometimes even surpass the original of things.
Sure.
But I think it was this comparison. Like, okay, just to even say it, and this isn't a big segue, but okay, when you looked at Terminator 1 and 2, Terminator was a classic, but it didn't have groundbreaking effects. There's nothing wrong with them. They were good, but they weren't groundbreaking, right?
Right.
Okay. When Terminator 2 came out, though, that had the budget, it had the money, right? It was like, okay. And that was a big pioneer for special effects, too. So you kind of had a new thing that you didn't, in that sequel, you had something that you didn't have in the original, right?
Sure.
Okay. With Jurassic Park, it kind of feels like it's just T2 out of the gate. Does that make sense? Like
That's a good way to say that.
it's not, yeah, like it's not, you didn't have to build up to those effects. They were just, it was, hey, you have the polished car right off the lot. So there's nothing, if this makes sense, with the sequels, you're not going to be able to revolutionize special effects like that again. Because obviously nowadays CGI is more common. You see, you didn't see movies like that as much back then of like, oh, pushing the boundaries. Now you see it more. And I think that the only way you could return to form, in my opinion, you just got to make a compelling story because it's like, I
That's
think,
a good point. That's a
yeah,
really good point.
yeah, like the effects are not going to be, I mean, obviously you want the effects to look good. That's just a given, but you have to focus on story because you're not going to be able to wow people as much as you did with the first one. That's just come and gone, you know? It's kind of like when I even say, it might sound weird, a little segue here too, but it's like, okay, when you look at like mobster stories, even, I've always made that comparison of like, and I don't even think you've seen these, but I think a lot of people will understand. Having the same amount of effect on mobster storytelling as The Godfather, good luck.
Yeah, right.
Like,
That's a tall order to
like,
try and fill.
yeah, because well, it's like I'm not saying you can't make another good mob story because you can, but to have that level of impact, probably not going to happen. It's like
I agree.
whenever you look at a mobster story, it's like it always akins back to The Godfather, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of I feel like, or it's like with even Jaws or Jurassic Park. Whenever you think of a shark movie, it's always going to akin back to Jaws. Whenever you think of a Jurassic or dinosaur movie, it's always going to akin back to Jurassic Park, typically. So I think that's the thing is like you want to try to make a compelling story first. And I think that the issue is like go back to practicals as well because it's like remember in Jurassic Park when you look at it, there's only a few scenes that have dated in it. Like honestly, the sequence in it that I felt dated was like the stampede scene does look is showing its age at this point. Like where the I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's where they're like watching the T Rex attack that herd of dinosaurs that's like stampeding.
Yes, 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 yes.
That is kind of showing its age at this point
No, sure.
because it's yeah. And obviously, I'm not holding that against the movie. I mean, the movie's what over 20 years old at this point, but I'm stating like I think that when you look at the T Rex scene in the nighttime, the reason it holds up is because it's done on an animatronic, not just complete CG. Whereas a lot of times the new ones, it's just full blown CG with minimal to no practical effects.
Yes.
So that's, and also, it sounds weird. Go back to shooting it on location. I'm really tired of all the green screen.
No, seriously. And I get that, like, it's like cost saving measures, or like with green screen, you can really control, quote unquote, the time of day, or you can control, like, I mean, you don't have to worry about green screen sets if it's going to be raining or not when it wasn't raining in the last shot, or like that's going to make it much harder for like actually recording or things like that. But like, I don't know, dude. It's like, I just feel like it's one thing when you're like, okay, like we've talked about before, it's like, I don't think that CG bad, practical effects are good. And never, I love practical effects and I wish everything could be practical effects. But I get the fact that like sometimes it's like, well, what does this scene really need, or what does it call for, or what's going to be like the thing that helps it out.
Exactly.
It just sucks when it's like they're like, it just will be cheaper, it'll be easier, and things like that. You're like, well, that doesn't feel like you're doing that for the passion of the film. It feels like you're doing that for just the ease of money.
Yes. Cost cutting measure. Well, and it's, you know, I've always made this comparison too, is like there's a charm to even when a practical effect is not good, there's kind of a charm to it. Whereas with CGI, when it's bad, there's no charm at
No,
all.
and it just ages so badly when it's
Yeah,
CG
yeah.
versus like
So it
practical effects. There's something about it being like actually right there in front of you that you're like, oh, it's like, and then you see it like a few
yes,
years later, like, oh my gosh, it's still that thing that was right in front of me.
yes, yes. So it's like it's very like I think that's a big thing, but it was weird because yeah, like Jurassic Park was like big in shaping my love of cinema too, or just like even Terminator 2 is a big, obviously a big shift in that category as well. When it was kind of like, ooh, okay, that's what effects can do, what they're capable of. It's almost like when you play a console for the first time that's new, and you're like, and it's real. Like there's games that are on it, right? But then there's stuff where it's like, oh, this is really pushing the limits of the hardware.
Yes.
So it's like that's the best way I can describe it. But yeah, no, and that's where I kind of like came from as far as like just shaped up and honestly I've just watched obviously, like anybody, I always have stated, you learn about storytelling by watching, right? You
Yes.
just you watch movies, you start to analyze what are your trigger points, like what you don't like in a story versus what you do like. So, that's kind of my background a little bit. I'm a person who loves, just I always go went by the quote, and it's not my quote. I'm not going to steal it, but it's the famous Roger Ebert quote: "Is it's not what it's about, it's how it's about it."
I love it. And that's
Yes,
definitely a
so
good
it's
way to like sum up like you because honestly, it's like if anyone has any doubts in that kind of stuff, I would feel like most of our conversations can tie back to something related with films and that ever. And Tectash definitely has a really, really good grasp on like not just like the finer points of filmmaking and ever, but like what really goes into a movie and how to get something to actually translate to I don't want to say like into good films and that ever, but just something that like really had something to say, something that was really pushing the bounds, something that like took advantage of like every asset that it had and tried to make the best out of it versus people that are just like, oh, you just turn on the camera and you just let it ride,
yeah.
let the
Well,
money
I
come
appreciate.
in.
Yeah, like it prints money. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
It'll be
We'll get our
fine.
It'll be fine. We'll get our Ferraris either way, right? No,
Oh,
but it's I even appreciate that you saying that because I also kind of learned as well, like it's collaborative,
yes.
and it's like
Takes a village.
there's a lot of movie. Yeah, it takes a village to make something, and it's like, and it sounds weird, but learning and watching stuff, I even think there's value in even when you watch a disappointing flick, I think it can be kind of educational, especially during your formative years, because okay, that's something that I do not like in storytelling. That is something that, because how would you know? It's like one of my film teachers said in high school with video production, he had said, how would you know good if you didn't know bad? Right?
Yes. How do you know
Like,
bitter without the sweet? Or sweet without the
yes,
bitter?
yes. So it's because it makes you go, oh, okay, that doesn't work. I don't like that. Or that's something that I like cannot stand. So it's like, or that's like a writing trope. It sounds weird because like everyone has a trope that they're not a fan of that like, and then there's tropes that don't bother certain people, right? Like it's like, oh, that trope doesn't really bother me. Whereas some people are like, oh, that trope bothers me. So, but it's fun to figure out like who you are as the individual because once you watch a lot of stuff, it's like, oh, okay, I understand. Like I break it down and I get it. It also kind of makes you more self-aware of like the things you're passionate about. And you can kind of even look at like it sounds weird, but when you first start liking movies or like a movie you like, it's flawless because it shaped you and etc. But then as you get older, you're like you can still very much love it, but you can recognize its shortcomings.
Certainly.
You're like, okay, this is where it doesn't excel, or this is where it's a little flawed, or this is where things like that. So yeah, and I'm it sounds weird, like I just love talking about movies because I love hearing people's perspectives on them. It's fun to just dive into like because everyone can interpret something differently. They can get and it's fun to hear people's take on something even if I might disagree with it, as long as they have something insightful to say or something cool. It's like, oh, okay, I can I didn't see have that experience with it, but okay,
Yeah.
that's what you had. So it yeah, like that was definitely like that's kind of a general broad term of where I come from.
That's a good broad term, dude. Because honestly, it's like I would say that like even before you were necessarily getting into like the actual like meat of things or like the why never for filmmaking or the why for cinematography or the why for the writing, anything like that. I feel
Yeah,
like you've definitely always been the person that I'm either playing video games with when we were growing up and that or watching different movies. Like we spent so many days in there at Blockbuster trying to either find the next video game or like the next movie that we were gonna watch, and we're like, okay, what's gonna be the good thing? Because when we were kids, we didn't have the
no,
luxury
exactly.
of, oh well, this is the top tens, or like, oh well, these are like the movies
Nope.
everybody's raving about. It was maybe word of mouth and like what you'd hear, but like 9 times out of 10, you just had to roll the dice, baby.
No, it was very much a stab in the dark. It was kind of, and it's funny because there wasn't, see, nowadays everyone knows, like, okay, what are the classics that people talk about? Like, it's like you can have the internet to, oh, yeah, this movie's on the top 100 or this movie, blah, blah, blah. Back when we were kids, especially now, or I mean, back then, sorry, it, like you said, it was just a stab in the dark. So sometimes you'd find some diamonds in the rough, and other times we'd, stumble upon Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Mortal Kombat
And then it's
freaking annihilation.
yeah, one of the famous, honestly, like terrible, one of the most terrible movies ever made. But it's funny because I even say, there's value in kind of learning that stuff, like there's
Yes.
value in when you watch a disappointing thing because it can kind of, I don't know. I mean, the way I see it is it can kind of help you, like, kind of gain a perspective of like, oh, okay, that's what it's like to be disappointed, or it can kind of make you see kind of like pitfalls, like, okay, what are the pitfalls of storytelling that this fell into, or
Well,
things like that.
I know it sounds silly to equate to this, but it's almost like, how do you know if you're in a good relationship or not if you've only ever been in one relationship or if you've only ever
Exactly.
dated
Yes.
one person?
Nothing. Nothing else to compare it to. It's like when dial-up internet was a thing. We thought nothing of when it would scream like a banshee at you.
All that stuff. No, it's so true
Yes,
though, dude. Or like the fact that like it took forever for something to load up, and that it's like we really didn't have any frame of reference to know if that was like good or not. We're just like, oh, you can like go on the computer and you can type something on the interwebs, and then all of a sudden you can see it.
absolutely. And like you said, you thought nothing of when 15 minutes. It took 15 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes to load a page. Whereas kids nowadays would literally pull out all their hair.
Oh, dude, like
So
I feel like even now and there, whatever, it's like if my internet takes like longer than 2 seconds to start loading up and there, I start like freaking silverback gorilla slapping like everything in there, and I'm like, why is this taking so long? We're the 24th century. Let's pay for this
yes,
internet.
yes. No, I go into caveman mode for sure,
Oh,
where I'm like, and it's funny, but it's like I said, like I love hearing like where people's backgrounds come from, or what makes shape them, or like I said, it's like anything. It's like we even, because obviously we talk about games a little bit, but it's that joke of like when you realize, oh, the dawn of, like we've made the joke a million times, but hard aim, where it's like it's something that you thought was always there because you've become so accustomed to it now,
yes.
whereas like back then that wasn't a thing. And the same thing like goes for, I mean, dude, back when we would go to the video store, I'll admit there was something that was kind of special about back when we were kids, of going to that rental store, of like
Yes.
kind of committing to renting something because you would actually be more prone to finish it. Where
Yes.
I feel like is streaming in today's era, you're not as committed to it. Like if you watch it, and let's say you're not enjoying it, which I'm not blaming people, I get it,
Oh,
but
sure. You got
if
to
you're
pick
not
and
in,
choose what you
if you,
like.
yeah, but if you're not enjoying it, people just dip out. Whereas I feel like when you rented it, you kind of committed to it, as bad as it might have been,
No, sure. Sure,
because
sure,
you're
sure.
like, well, I rented it and I only have 2 days to take it back or whatever it is. And, you know, so I've got to make the plunge and I've got to do it. So I definitely feel that there's kind of something different in today's era, like it's different, and it's kind of fascinating though. I mean, the way different generations interpret different things.
Oh, I agree. That's actually a good segue
So
into what we're talking about. And thank you so much for letting the audience know a little bit more about yourself because you're such a cool dude. And I have literally like my entire life of knowing you and knowing all the intricacies that is you. But I definitely want people to get a little bit more experienced on like the Tectashstation because you're a cool dude and you've got really, 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 really good insight on cinematography, cinema in general. I keep saying
thank you.
cinematography like it's a flat term versus like just cinema in general and never,
I
but
got you.
um how you're saying with like kind of more like formative years and that kind of stuff. That's a really good way into segue into our scary movie talk. So like what would you
Yes,
say
sweet.
are probably some of your most formative childhood scary movies? Like things that really shaped like your formative childhood life when it came to scary movies in cinema.
Okay, I will tear. I have like probably three or four, but I'll actually list the very first. It's going to sound strange.
Okay.
Shout out to Aunt Carly. I promise I don't hold this against you. But
I know what you're gonna
okay,
say.
Child's Play.
Really? Okay, I thought you were gonna say Night of the Living Dead, but Child's Play never. Okay, so you watched that up with Aunt Carly.
Well, because okay, she was actually living with my mom at the time. This is just back when she was with my mom, and PJ lived with me for a second. Okay, she rented it. I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe we had really pissed her off that night. I'm not sure, but um, she rented it, and we were watching it, and we were probably 6 years old, probably
Oh,
six,
jeez,
something like that.
that young to be
And
watching those movies?
yeah, and I remember that doll just gave me the like creeps, man. And I remember like that voice is like super like ooh, like demonic.
Yes.
And it was weird because that kind of solidified because even to this day, if you know anything about me, I do not like dummies or ventriloquist stuff. That always has just given me the creeps.
Yeah. No.
Always
No. 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 No.
not into it. Um, so I think it started from there though. Like it sounds weird, but ever since then, because I remember seeing the knife with Chucky and how he let like the demons go into him. But I always remember his little like one-liners in the kitchen where he goes after the chick in the kitchen.
Yes.
That's like been burned into my memory of like, ooh, this is because I had seen movies like obviously kids movies or things like that, but that was like my first experience watching a movie where it's like, oh, this is what it means to be like scared, like and uneasy, and not in a good way, like in a very like, oh, like not what's gonna happen, like where you're excited, like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens in this movie. More like you're clutching at the blankets, putting it over your head.
Yes.
Like, sorry, my phone just anyways. So that was like my first experience there. But then I think the next thing was, or sorry, with that, that always has been. I remember though it was funny because we were actually started crying, and my mom was like, "What
Oh
are you guys
no.
watching?" And then when she saw what we were watching, she was like, that caused a big
Big
hoopla
blowout.
between her. Yeah, which understandably so. But um, that was like a big one for me. Just like the thought of it, or just like anything like that, was very like uneasy. So that would be what, honestly, as far as if you had to say a first, it's actually that one. And now it's weird. See, when I look at it now, I can obviously see the strength, the man behind the curtain.
Certainly.
Yeah, but that definitely was like kind of what catapulted my in. It was weird, even though I was like kind of traumatized by that. It did kind of still like piqued my interest as far as like I didn't like that film, but it kind of got my imagination flowing of kind of gravitating towards darker things.
Sure.
So that was kind of a big one for me. Was like that was formative, and then I would say you had to go to the next one, and this is no order, but that would always be like the first one, right? But my other one would be Halloween. And this is going to sound strange. Now, sorry, hipsters.
Oh
My
no.
first experience with Halloween was actually two. It was not the first one.
Oh really? You didn't watch the first one
But
first?
no, I did not. So I actually, and it's funny, I've grown an appreciation for the first one immensely, right? And it's what I'd consider the best one in the series. But two was actually my exposure to it. My dad had
Interesting.
it. Yeah, it was back when DVDs were actually really new, and my dad had it. It was back when my dad was living in one of his apartments, and my dad had the DVD, and I started watching it, and I just remember that was kind of the first instinct of like watching like a villain slowly walk towards you while still managing to keep up, no matter how fast you run.
Oh, seriously, like it's like he does like the whole like when they like do those memes of like what was it? It's gonna take X amount of time by car to get there when you look on Google Maps, but if like you're walking and there whatever, and it's like, oh, the gay walking meme and there whatever, and they're like walking like they're the Flash and there whatever, you're like, okay, how's it 5 minutes to drive, but 30 seconds if you're walking? He
Yes,
honestly could
yes,
keep up with literally anybody.
anybody,
Anybody.
and yes. So it's like that's what started me on Halloween, and then I remember I went back and watched the first one because I didn't realize that was the second one, right? I didn't know that until like people were like, "Oh, there's a first one," and I remember I think it was my dad said, "Oh, there's a first one," and he didn't have it, but we went and got it somewhere, and then I watched the first one. But that was kind of my other formative years of like Michael Myers was always like because everyone has different like some people was like oh they started off on Freddy or some people started off on Jason. No, mine was actually uh, the OG amongst those three was Michael Myers. That's where I started.
Certainly.
So I was like, okay, so that was formative. I would actually then even say the other ones that was actually formative for me was believe it or not, I was actually late to the party on I'm on with Friday the 13th because I was kind of older when I got into that. That wasn't formative for me. Like I've seen the series, but it wasn't formative. Um, but I would actually say the other ones were Jaws is made me afraid to like take a shower because I remember watching
Yes.
just the water was like I remember the opening scene always gave you the most chills where the chick like gets drug underneath. I was like, ooh, like that's just like terrible. And then let's see what else. Oh, and then I would actually say it's weird. This one was formative, but I hadn't seen the whole movie until I was a little bit older. Was actually Psycho. That one was
I didn't
I
even
had
think
always seen
about
the shower
Psycho. That's a
sequence.
good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I had only seen the shower sequence when I was like younger, but I had never seen the whole movie. But I just remember that giving me the creeps, just like the way that it's shot in shadow. I was like, ooh, and just like the music. So that one was formative, and then last but not least, Alien, because that's when I was like first. If this made sense, I had seen other movies like Predator, but I saw Alien, and even though Predator was good, I liked it. It didn't really spook. It didn't really spook me that much. I liked the creature design, and that was cool. The alien legitimately like scared me, dude. Like,
No, sure.
because
Well,
I'm
it's got like it's like weird
yeah,
little and like it's like saliva and all that kind of stuff and like yeah, that was
yeah,
some gross yucky.
yeah. So that would be definitely like those would be my formative movies. Like as far as like if you had to pinpoint what kind of got me into horror or kind of like sent me down that path, it'd be those.
Those are definitely some like excellent ones. And like honestly, they're pretty similar to mine. And ever like I had put Halloween as one of them, and that whatever. It's like those
Okay.
ones. Remember seeing those as a kid, seeing the early stages of Michael Myers and that, and just like how you said, I'm not a big fan of people in masks and ever because it's like
No,
I feel like the fact like if you can't see people's like eyes or if you can't see like their face and ever, it's like I feel like we rely a lot on like facial expressions or things like that to kind of discern like what are they thinking, what are their intentions, what are they doing, and that kind of stuff. And so having that be something completely void and you can't even see what they're thinking or like who's under there and being able to identify it, that freaks me out. That scares me. And so
for sure.
that was definitely something, or just the idea of like not being safe in your own home and that whatever, or like, oh, it's like you could just be sitting there on Halloween night and then all of a sudden some big baddie comes and is trying to like terrorize you and your babysitter. I would say that
Yes.
that one was definitely one of my formative years. One, Scream. And that was definitely a
Okay.
formative year one, just because the slasher aspect, or like, I don't know, dude, like the whole when the one girl's trying to escape and they're ever through the garage, and then he opens the garage door, and like, I don't know, I feel like the way she looked when her face was getting like smooshed and that kind of stuff, or whatever, in the garage door, like stuck in my little kid brain forever. And that.
Okay, fair.
But I would say Halloween, Scream, Friday the 13th, of course. Like that was something where it's like I was convinced that like it only ever came out on Friday the 13th, and they're ever like, oh, every Halloween season, if like there's a Friday that falls on the 13th.
It's funny because I actually remember when we were kids, right?
Yes.
And you would always talk about that series because like I said, I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to that one. So, but I remember you always being kind of having like a little bit of like a superstition about it because it was like it's Friday the 13th, so it was like it was always on the 13th, right?
Yes.
So it was like yeah, like I definitely understand that one. And it's for me like when everyone has like differences, but it's like okay, when you look at like Michael Myers, to me, why he's always given me the most creeps among even the ones you just listed. And I'll say this, not to like steamroll you or anything. I'm just saying.
No, you're good.
Okay, it just makes sense. Jason and Freddy. I'm not saying they're not intimidating in their own way, but they almost feel so made up that I know that I'm watching a movie.
Yes. Like it's like
Whereas,
you're like, okay, most people quote unquote don't look like that.
yeah, well, and nobody would. It's a costume. Like it's very much like you're almost like you're in a haunted mansion kind of thing. Like okay, yeah. Michael's so. It's almost like the lack of like since he's kind of more basic and it's just like the costume's not so made up. It's just a boiler suit and a cheap mask. It almost makes it more scary to me.
No, I agree. And never, because it's like there's something, how do I say it? It's like, what was it? There was that old adage or like thing in ever where people say, the closer something is to being human or something that's closer to being realistic, the scarier it is, because the more plausible that it could actually happen or exist.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's also like you don't know much about him. He went to the like. It's a brilliant like. Halloween is so good because it's like you know you don't know why his parents just came home and he had just committed a horrific murder,
Yeah,
right?
wasn't he like murdered like his sister or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. At the beginning of the first one, it's that like they just come home and it looked like he was in just a fairly normal household, right?
Yeah,
Nothing crazy.
not like he was in some sort of
And
like, oh, well, they had all this crazy, horrible stuff happening to him, and so that's why he became a murderer, kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. He wasn't shaped to be that. So it made like the mystery because I always think about, ooh man, can you imagine parents that have come home that were just, semi-normal, that came home and they realized like their kid had done something like that?
Yeah.
It's like, oof. So
Like, how do
that's
you
kind
even
of
deal
added
with
to,
that? Like, that's
yeah,
definitely not in the
no,
manual.
no. And so when he did that, and then also he's been in a psych ward, and the detective talks about how he never said a word, he doesn't speak. It just makes it like really like, oh man, something's really off with him. So it's like, to me, that's why he's always kind of given me the most creeps amongst them all because he doesn't say anything. All he does is just do his thing. He just is. He's like an unstoppable force.
Yes.
And it just, yeah, it's somewhat, yeah. Like I said, it's like because Jason and even Freddy both they're interesting designs and they have an interesting setting, but I just feel like I kind of am like, okay, we're in a movie because nobody really looks like that. You know what I mean? Like nobody. Whereas I could see with even Michael Myers, I could see someone going around in a basic mask doing something like that.
Yes.
So it's like the fact that the mask doesn't look super done up, it looks cheap. It's like, yeah, like it doesn't feel like like because even with Jason, there's a lot of him where I'm like, okay, it looks like a team of like people got together
Yes.
and worked on him to make him look like that. You know what I'm saying? Where Michael to me doesn't feel that way. It feels like, nope, he just found a boiler costume and he grabbed whatever mask he could find, and then that's what he's doing.
And just decided to start having like a field day.
Yeah. So yeah, but so that's interesting. So okay, so Halloween, Friday the 13th, Scream.
And I know it sounds silly, because you had mentioned this one already, or I kind of like touched with it and ever with oh wait, no, you didn't, I don't think you had touched on this one. I would say like three other ones in there ever were Nightmare on Elm Street, but everyone's like really familiar with that movie and ever, and I'm sure that that's like also on people's like formative year lists and that. But
Oh, for sure, definitely.
two of them that like really hit with me that I think aren't nearly on as many and that people's and ever, but I still think would be on other people's lists and ever would be what's it called? Uh, Wishmaster and Children of the Corn.
Oh, I can see. Okay, yes, I can see that.
Because like
I
Wishmaster
can
was
see
one of
that.
those movies that like my parents were watching and there whatever, and it was like the oh kid, you gotta go to bed and there whatever. It's like mom and dad are gonna be watching a scary movie and there whatever, and this is just for adults. This is adult time and that whatever. And I was like, okay, well, we had that whole like it's a shared like if you're watching on the TV downstairs and you're also watching you turn on the TV upstairs, it'll be playing the same thing on both TVs. And so I think they were upstairs in their bedroom, and so I went downstairs and went to watch it and that. And I was watching like the first like 10 minutes of it, and then the rest of it I spent behind the couch kind of like popping up every once in a while. But like I don't know if you remember Wishmaster, but like the first few minutes, like the craziest stuff is happening. Like people are turning into lizards and that kind of stuff, whatever. People like their whole entire like body is melting off and they turn into like a skeleton and that kind of stuff, whatever. And I'm like, I literally, it's like those things like stuck in my brain so hardcore. Or like, I don't know, there was this scene where like, I guess this one girl was like kind of like doing the like obsession with beauty, and it's like she's like, oh, I just want to be like beautiful and that kind of stuff and XYZ and blah blah blah. And so like the Wishmaster like comes up to her and that or whatever, and he's like, oh, what do you wish for, kind of thing and that kind of stuff. And she's basically like looks at this mannequin and she's like, I want to be like her and that kind of stuff. She's like, I want to be beautiful like she is and that. And so he's like, okay. And then he turns her into a mannequin and that where it looks
Okay,
just like her, but she like becomes a mannequin, which like isn't necessarily super scary in itself, but like later, I think that like the Wishmaster is like trying to like call all of the people that have like gotten their wishes and that kind of stuff, or whatever, and try and like harness their power to open a gate or something like that, or whatever. Hi, Brad. What's up, Brad? It's good to see you, brother. Big kisses, dude. Big kisses. Welcome to the 100 subscriber special stream where we're talking about scary movies. It's good to see you, brother. But
yes.
when he goes to like recall her and that kind of stuff, it's like she's sitting there as a mannequin, and all of a sudden like her eyes like roll up into the back of her head, and I don't know why it like freaked me the absolute crap out when I was a kid. But Children of the Corn scared me when I was a kid. Like, the main bad guy's name is Isaac, and I'm like, oh no, that's my name. I'm not gonna be like a bad guy that looks like he's like somehow 10 years old, but then also 83, and then try and bring people into the corn, am I?
That's funny because I remember, you know what's weird about Children of the Corn?
What?
I watched that later, but I remember like it was on somewhere when we were like at Disneyland when my mom and I were on vacation, and my mom was it was weird, like she was going through something, but she just didn't want to watch something like that at the time, and it was on in the hotel room, right? And she flipped it. She's like, no, 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 I'm not in the mood for that.
No, 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 no,
And
no,
I
no.
was, and
No,
I
no, no,
actually
no,
had
no, no,
wanted to,
no.
yeah, I
We
had
ain't doing
wanted to
corn
see it.
children. We ain't doing high
No,
fructose corn syrup children. Not today.
no, it's like my own children freak me out enough. No,
Oh,
but
not even. Not even.
no, but it's like I remember like when I was watching it, I was like, or I kind of caught a glimpse of it. And then I watched it obviously later, but it's like I could definitely, dude, I can definitely see how, especially as a kid, gosh, even now, it kind of has an uneasiness about it. Like there is like stuff where I'm like, nah, I could see how as a kid that would like really like hit you, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's well,
Well,
and
it's
it's funny
like
because I was even, but
well, it's like the whole idea of like what was it? It's like the children kind of do that whole like we don't want to listen to parents anymore and that kind of stuff. And the reason why there's so much bad in the world is because of adults. You don't see kids starting wars. You don't see kids doing this kind of stuff. We should take the land back as ours and ever, because apparently
Yes,
that's what the field of corn and the one who walks between the rows was telling them and that kind of stuff. And
yes,
so that's why they go all absolute nuts so crazy and then start killing everybody.
yes, yes. Well, it's funny because I was even going to mention, I forgot to even mention this one. You know which other one? This was kind of more of like, I guess it was like in a fun way, it could be, but another one I forget to mention a lot. And I'm sure, I think it has some sort of cult following, but it's like, you just actually reminded me of Children of the Corn was Gremlins. You remember that one?
Yes. Okay. I even when I was trying to look up different movies just to shake up my brain and dust off the cobwebs and be like, okay, what were some like early movies in that? Dude, Gremlins, such a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. I remember like liking like the angle that it takes. It's very like, you know, such I don't know, I guess where that one kind of like got in my brain a little bit was it was like something so terrifying came from cute little Gizmo. So it's like, ooh,
Well, it's kind of like that,
man,
like, don't assume everything is because of the what you see kind of aspect of it.
yes, yes, yes. So it definitely like that one would definitely be on. I forgot to. I saw that at a pretty impressionable age. And then oh yeah, I forgot to mention this one too. This is a little different, but it's not even a horror, but just mainly the scene, not the whole movie itself, but this particular scenario in terms of horror. Believe it or not, Temple of Doom.
Sure. Okay, like you're talking about like the Indiana Jones and that or whatever.
Yes, yes, because the sequence that always was burned in my brain when I was a kid that made me like, was it literally felt like I was watching. It's funny. I always make the joke that Temple of Doom is more of a live action Mortal Kombat movie than the actual first movie was. But
That's true. That's very true.
when he rips the dude's heart out, the whole Gali Ma scene, obviously.
Yes, the like
Um,
Kali Ma, Kali
yeah,
Ma. Dude, that was so weird. Or like even like when they did like the food, not the food scene in ever, but
yeah,
where they bring out like the monkey heads and it's got the weird jello in it and it's supposed to be like, oh, the monkey brains and that whatever.
yeah, yes. That movie, it's so strange because I still love it to this day, but it's so funny because it's so like it's the most experimental, obviously, amongst that series.
Yes.
But it's so like it's weird. It's shifts tones because it's like don't get me wrong, Raiders had moments of darkness, as does Last Crusade, but it still feels very much in a vein of like an adventure movie, right? Like it's like it only goes
Yes.
so dark. It's like The Mummy. Like yeah, it has moments where it's a little like ooh okay that's a little spooky, but nothing too crazy, right? Whereas like Temple of Doom, like it's like there are moments where I'm like, dang, am I in a Saw movie? Like holy crap! Like
Dude, right?
so
It gets pretty intense at some points.
yeah, so that was definitely one, and like the villain always gave me the most Malaram or whatever. He was just ugh, uneasy. He always like gave me the creeps. So yeah, that would definitely be fun. But that's interesting though. So you're just we had some same, but it's fun to hear. Like honestly, because when you say some of the ones as mine, it's cool. But I love to hear when they're different because obviously then you get more of like okay, like something that like when you say Scream or Friday the 13th or even Wishmaster or Children of the Corn.
Yes.
Because Children of the Corn didn't shape me, but it's cool to hear. Like, I didn't know that that one had shaped you.
Well, cause
I
like,
don't think I've ever heard you say that one.
cause it's like one of those movies that not only like was it something that I like saw when I was a little kid, but I remember like back when I want to say like our next door neighbor that lived behind us, and ever her kids went to my same school, and so sometimes my mom and her would trade off like taking us to school if we had like missed the bus or things like that. And I went over to his house and there ever Rhett's house and there ever to hang out with him, and they're watching like I think the third one. And never I
Okay.
can't remember. No, the third one's urban something, and that was dumb. But anyways, like one of them, it's like at the very end, it's like the corn monster is this like big, huge, like almost like fleshy intergalactic looking worm, and it like shows its like weird like tongue thing come out, and it like grabs this lady, and she's like screaming in horror as it's like slowly bringing her in, and whatever. And I just remember being like, I gotta go to school after this. Never. I'm like, what are we
Okay.
even watching right now?
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. No. That's definitely it's fun to hear what like sparked the imagine. Now, let me ask you this. I was going to ask you this weird question, but I was going to ask,
Okay.
what would you say amongst those like sparked your interest the most? Because they formed you, but like, which one would you say kind of ignited like your love of horror? Like, where you're like, oh, you know what? Even though that creeped me out, I kind of am intrigued by that, or I kind of like that.
I would say out of those movies, honestly, I know it sounds silly, but like Children of the Corn, I for some reason was just really interested in like the idea of like it's like this is not something I'm used to. I'm not used to the idea of like kids being like the main scary component or like the idea of like well it's like usually like adults are like the people that like either make you safe or like adults are like in scary movies it's like oh that's a bad adult and never but you never like really see anything with kids so I thought like that was really interesting and I would say that like also Scream just because I felt like it seemed so iconic because like Michael Myers in there was just as iconic in there as far as like what he brought to like the horror world but there
For
was
sure.
something about like the Scream mask and that whatever, the classic dagger, and like just something about that storyline that like I don't know. It's like I was like, I think I might like scary movies. I think I might be into scary movies.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Well, and it's interesting because Scream was kind of like it was very much kind of a deconstruction of horror in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like it kind of like added a new spin to the genre somewhat, where it's like, because it kind of like, it was very self aware of what it was. And it like kind of played with some of the tropes of like, okay, well, this and this, it kind of would poke fun at it in a pretty clever way. So I was like, yeah, I can see definitely how that one would like, I think mine honestly was because Child's Play, like, even though it, like, obviously kind of that more so, if it made sense, scarred me than interested me
Which one?
on Child's Play.
Okay,
The,
okay, okay.
the one, the one that interested me, I would actually probably say was Halloween and Alien, probably. That was kind of those where I was like, because I was scared by Halloween, but I wasn't necessarily scarred by it because I was a little bit older when I saw Halloween versus Child's Play, obviously.
Sure.
But those are kind of what made me like, ooh, you know what? I'm kind of into this. Like I kind of find this a little bit interesting. So it's
Ooh.
like it's fun to. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say we got Maddie in the audience never, and I asked her what her favorite scary movie is, and she said her favorite scary movie is probably Disturbia, saying that it's more of a thriller, or As Above,
Okay.
So Below, or anything with like a crazy plot twist. She's like, I also like
Okay.
the game scary movies, like wait. Oh, she likes all of like the game type scary movies, kind of like ones where it's like you're either like trapped somewhere or you like gotta get out.
Oh yeah, that adds good. I can see that. It adds good claustrophobic. Like it's got a good claustrophobic feel to it.
Yes. No, and those are all really good
Yes.
ones, Maddie. And never those are some really good ones.
Yes. Disturbia is actually very. I've seen this one. It's funny because I saw this later, but it's very reminds me of. This is super old school, but have you ever heard of Rear Window? It's a
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it though. I haven't seen it.
okay. It's a classic. Like it's one of those movies you'll hear talked about, but it's by Alfred Hitchcock. That's the guy who does Psycho and a bunch of other like classics like The Birds and stuff like that. But anyways, uh, it Disturbia kind of reminds me of like a modern, like kind of like a modernized Rear Window.
Interesting.
Yeah. So because and it's funny because I saw Disturbia first, but then when I saw Rear Window, I was like, oh, okay, I see where that stems from now. I kind of see like the DNA of it.
No, absolutely.
So that's
So
cool though.
in that light though, I wanted to ask you, just kind of in the idea of like formative years, that kind of stuff, or whatever, what would you say is like maybe one of like the things that scares you the most or like a big fear of yours, like maybe as a kid versus what are your
Okay.
big scary greatest fears now?
As a kid, it sounds weird. I've always like been afraid of like drowning to death. That's
Oh,
like always been
sure.
yeah, like that. Because I always had the fear of water when I was a kid because I didn't learn how to swim until I was a little bit older.
I remember that.
Um, yeah, it took me a long time to get over that fear. And even now, I mean, I know how to swim. I'm not like the best swimmer. I'm not some Olympian athlete or anything, but um, I always never wanted to die that way because it feels very how do I say this? It's just lonely, and it's like when someone dies when they drown, you don't hear them. Well, okay, unless you're like within earshot, obviously, but like you can't really like scream. You're just kind
Yes.
of draft, you know,
I mean, you
and
can,
you're
but it's
just
like.
yeah, yeah, like it's you're not going to be really heard. So that would have been like one of my biggest fears as like a kid, and honestly, even now, I don't want to drown. I don't want to die by drowning. I would hate that because I feel
Yes.
like it's like I'm being overpowered by nature or something like that, which I really don't appreciate.
When it's like such a
Um,
helpless feeling too. Like, I mean, or it's like panicky because it's like you go into that like fight or flight and that kind of stuff, or not fight or flight, but where you're just going into survival mode is what I should say. And never, but then like
yes.
it just feels like, oh, I don't know, because there's like one thing to be like I said, if you can't swim, it's like hard to get yourself back up above water. But like I think it's like scary the idea of getting like trapped under ice in that kind of scenario
Oh
where it's
yeah.
like if you're drowning and you're trapped under ice, even if you try to swim to the top, you're just banging on the top of that ice and never trying to get through, and like
Oh yeah.
you're
No,
just like
that's actually yeah.
panic.
No, that would be definitely like I hate that. And it's weird. Like as an adult, I would say I'm okay. Like spiders, I don't necessarily think I have arachnophobia. Don't get me wrong. I don't want them on me,
Sure.
but like I think I have a genuine like, ugh, don't get it on me. But I mean, I could take care of one if I have to. But it's like, okay, the one things that like give me where I'm like, ugh, where I turn into totally like a schoolgirl is I don't like centipedes of any kind, especially like the big ones. Ugh, like that just gives me the creeps. Hate them. So if I was to see those, I'm like, ugh. Like if I was in a jungle somewhere where I knew those were around, I hate that. Like I don't like those. Those give me like the creeps. And then the other thing would be actually like death by, as far as like fears, is like being out abandoned in the ocean when it's pitch black and there's
No, and
nothing.
being able to only see black all around you. Oh no.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, like that always gives me like the don't like that. And I also don't like anything swampy because I don't. You know anything about me? I'm not really a big fan of reptiles, so I do not like crocodiles whatsoever. So if you were to take me to a swampy area, even as like if you made me think something was swampy and as a joke you push me in, even though it was a set, I'm still gonna be mad. I'm not gonna take it as a joke.
No, sure.
I'd be like, yeah, that's one of those like, ugh, don't like that because I don't like the deaths of how alligator or crocodiles kill you as well.
Oh, dude, like the
Because
whole like they grab you in there and then they
yeah,
do like the
oh
spin thing and basically just blender
no,
you.
yeah,
Gross. Yuck, 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 yuck.
no,
Big
no.
yuck.
That's why that always like creeped me out on again. This is where Temple of Doom comes in. But where he falls to his death and the alligators like eat them, I'm like, oh,
Yes.
oh, oh, don't like it. So I don't like reptiles in general, and crocodiles are definitely at the top of the list of what I don't like.
No, super big yuck. Super, super not into any kind of like that death. And I would say like in that kind of light or whatever, as far as for like me, when I was a kid, actually, do you mind if we take a quick like 2 minute break so I can go use the restroom real quick?
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually gonna go. I have to go do one thing too. So just yeah, we'll take a quick break.
All right, you guys, we're gonna take about like a 5 minute break, so I'll see you guys in about 5 minutes, okay? All right, you guys. So sorry for that break. Thank you for giving me the kindness and patience and grace to take that little break in the first place. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, your son, here at Tectashstation. We're doing some makeup. I'm getting ready to get into the scary parts of it after I put my eyelashes on. But we were just really in the middle of talking about our biggest fears and how they changed from when we were little kids to what they are now. And I would say that when I was a kid, what personally scared me was, I don't sound silly, but like the dark or like closets, in the sense of like, for me, like if I went to bed, I had to have my closet like completely shut, because for some reason, like having the lights off and being able to like see into the closet terrified me, like absolutely terrified me, was not down for it. And I even remember one time I had like fell asleep, rolled out of bed, and then um woke up and my head was like directly in the closet and I was just staring up into the dark abyss and that whatever, and I stood there, laid there like frozen in fear, and that, like,
Did you?
yes, absolutely terrified, and like I kept doing that whole like, Isaac, you gotta move, you gotta move. It's like being here and sitting here isn't going to like make it less scary. It's gonna keep you more in danger if there is anything dangerous up there. And so I finally like got the courage, got up, closed the doors, and then turned the lights on, and then went back to sleep with the lights on full blast because I was like so scared out of my mind.
Dang. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I would say like
Not bad.
definitely that kind of stuff, or like, oh dude, like I was saying with the masks and that or whatever. Seriously, what scared me and that ever as a kid was like not just like masks and that ever per se, but like the idea of what was it called? I did not like, sorry, I'm trying to look up Bredicus on Discord, that way I can try and send him a friend request. But mascots, dude, like mascots at like sports arenas and that or whatever, scared the absolute poojiboos out of me. Did not
Okay.
like them.
Okay.
Just because that whole like you can't see their faces, things like that. And like when I was a little kid, we went to like a jazz game. Like I'd have been like maybe 5 or 6, and we were sitting there, and like the jazz bear were like sitting up against like a cement wall that like went up about like 10 feet, and then above it there was like the next set of chairs and that. And I look up and there's the freaking what's it called, the jazz bear and that kind of stuff. And he starts waving at me, and so like I wave up at him, and as soon as I wave up at him, he grabs my arm, pulls me up to the next level, and that ever rubs my head, and then just leaves me. And I'm like, I gotta find out how to get down to my parents and that ever now. And I was just like, scared me as a little kid. And then like maybe when I was like 10, I was at like the Utah Fun Dome, and like started seeing this wolf mascot or whatever start come up to me, and I started getting like the sweat, and I'm like, just walk past me, dude. Don't say anything. Just walk past me. Please just walk past me. And what was it? Walks past me, and then I'm like, okay, phew. And wherever it's like, didn't grab me, didn't see me, and that. And all of a sudden I feel him pick me up, and then he turns me upside down and he puts me inside of one of those big garbage cans and that or whatever. And then just like pulls me back out, and then like just like basically kind of does the like chuckle movement, like ho 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 ho, and then like walks off. And I'm like, dude, you suck.
Yeah. I could definitely see how that's like not okay.
Yeah, dude. So like when I was a kid, definitely what's it called? Sorry, I'm trying to look for you. Trying to look for you, brother Bredicus and ever, but I am having a hard time. I'm not finding anything. I looked under Bredicus Maximus and I looked under just bread. I'm not finding anything. And I would give you my Discord name and that, but it does this whole thing when you're like streaming and that, where it like won't let you actually get your like little handle versus just your name. So if you look up this, I'm gonna put this in the chat and that, but if you just look up IZ Yasun, that's my name, so that should pull that up. So try searching that in Discord, and hopefully that'll find me. If not, like I said, I'll put it in the comments after the stream, and therever I'll put a comment and therever and tag you in it with my Discord handle so you can find me. But I tried searching for you, Brett, and I can't find you. But I would say as I'm older though, as I'm older, it's like I would say things that scare me are a little bit more like those practical kind of fears in the sense of like heart attack, brain aneurysm, things like that, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Or like cuz like I don't know, I just can't imagine like either for myself or like sitting there with Kevin and then we're just like going along, everything's fine and then all of a sudden Kevin has a brain aneurysm and then he's just gone out of my life and that kind of stuff forever and it's like there's the most special, most beautiful, amazing Shadow Kevin, beautiful soul in my entire life, and then just lights out Gorilla Radio, and then I've got to like spend my whole life wondering what's gonna happen. But yeah,
yeah,
I would say
def-
that like as an adult, that's the kind of stuff that actually like scares me the most. And there are things like that, or like I don't know, just like even like the movie The Mist, or things like that, where it's like seeing people like when they're in a dire situation or they're like backed up against a corner or something like that, and you really get to see like how they react, or like I don't know, just like seeing people at their worst or at their most scared, and like how instead of coming together to try and make things better, they like do that crazy stuff and they start being like, oh, well, I believe in this crazy thing and it wants us to kill the child, sacrifice the child. Oh, I'll
right.
sacrifice this person. And I'm like, that kind of stuff freaks me out.
Yeah.
Those would
No,
probably be my biggest fears as an adult.
I definitely understand that. Well, it's like I've even said like I've carried on like my fear of dummies in general.
Yes.
It's you know, I've seen Twilight Zone episodes. I even remember Slappy from Goosebumps. You know, it's like that. Just always like I don't know. It's something that's like I guess because it's so like to me it feels really like old school.
Yes.
Like there's something that's really like old and classic feeling about dummies to me. So it just I don't know. It gives me like just a very mm, like I don't know. I can't even really like put it into words. Just like that's always given me like kind of my I guess you could say my supernatural fear, or maybe superstitious fear, you could say. And it's like so that one's always. But I definitely understand like the heart attack or even stuff like that. As you get older, you start realizing like, oh man, what if that happens? What if? And that's why it's you know I even say too. I try to like not saying I'm always the best at it, but I try to be mindful about how you feel sometimes because you never know when something could just hit you.
No, right. Just trying to have
So,
like that honest dialogue with your body and being like, okay, is what I'm feeling just like a normal thing and that kind of stuff? Is this actually something to be worried about? But like making sure to like keep in touch with yourself and be like, okay, what kind of check engine lights do I need to be like worried about?
yes, yes, no, like definitely, like yeah, like don't ignore the check engine light, right? That's like the
Yes.
big thing. Like don't ignore.
Sorry, I'm
So
like also responding on chat. But like, but yeah, dude, it's like I would say as far as like for adult fears versus childhood fears, that or like big dogs and that kind of stuff. I'm not here to hate on big dogs and things like that, but I'm 5'4" and I'm like just this little scrawny dude and that kind of stuff. And so like big dogs can literally like 90s bully push me against their locker and that kind of stuff. And I don't like that when they stand up, they're just as tall as I am. That freaks me out. And so
yeah,
it's like some people are like, "Oh, he's friendly" and that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, this dog could sit on me and it would be lights out Gorilla Radio. I'm like, I don't care how friendly he is and that or whatever. It's like, it's
yeah,
like, please,
no, I definitely no. I mean, dude, I understand that too because it's like when you're smaller, it's like okay, yeah. And I always was jealous of people that because I'm 5'9", so I'm not like this tree either, you know. But it's like I always was like, man, I wish I was like I never wanted to be too tall, but I always wanted to be like at least 6'1" or so,
yeah,
6'1", 6'2" at the most. But I was like, yeah, like there's definitely I can see how that would be a thing too, because like big dogs can and big dogs equals you get attacked by a big dog. That's a little different than when you're being attacked by a
little
little
Chihuahua.
chihuahua.
Yes. Well, and that's like
Yeah,
the thing. It's like, because I mean, like with people, it's like, yeah, you could be talking like to a deranged killer and being like, no, please, please don't kill me and ever. It's like, I've got so much to live for, XYZ. It's like, I don't want to die. It's like, but it's like I can't really like have that kind of conversation with like a dog and whatever. I could just be walking down the street in the middle of the night and all of a sudden it's like, oh, is that a hellhound? Wants to make me its
Yes.
own personal chew toy?
Yes.
And then what do you say? It's like, good boy. That's a good doggy. That's a good don't bite me in half, big scary big doggy.
For sure. For sure. No, I definitely understand that.
No, seriously. So I was gonna ask you in there,
Yep.
ever kind of like going off of that same kind of topic in there, ever like I think this kind of like tie into like fears and different things of that nature. What would you say, like, out of every scary movie you've seen, or it doesn't even have to be a scary movie, just a movie where you've encountered a really crazy death or like a different crazy way to go? What would you say is probably one of the worst, or you're like, if I ever leave this planet, I do not want to go that route. That's not the way I want to die.
Okay, that I actually think I have like probably two or three,
Share
but
all of them, dude. Share all of them.
yeah. Okay, so one of them is it's weird. This is in a Disney live action movie. No, not the abominations we have going on now, but the ones before. You remember the '90s Jungle Book?
I remember it, but I don't think I ever saw it. But tell me about it.
Okay, so it's basically like it's Jungle Book, but it's like it has I don't even it's funny. It actually has the one dude from Princess Bride, the one who plays Wesley. He's actually like the bad guy in it. I know
Oh
that
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Believe it or not, that movie's actually for like it being a movie like that. You would think, oh, it's kid friendly. There's some deaths on there where I'm like, ooh, that's kind of dark. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a little more risque than I would have thought for like a movie of that caliber or whatever. But anyways, there's a death where because one of my me is like drowning. I That's one of my fears. But like one that actually absolutely terrifies me, and it actually is it to me it's like drowning on steroids, is quicksand.
No, sure. Oh no. Oh,
Yeah. So there's actually a death on there where a guy dies. He tries to help another guy out who fell into quicksand, and like basically he tries to get him out, keeps trying to get him, and basically, you know, to no avail.
oh no.
So he dies from quicksand, and from ever since I seen that movie, I was always like, man, that's like drowning, but like on steroids.
Oh, it's like drowning in thick and like the sand and that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it's like
Yeah,
because we've all like accidentally got like water into or like you accidentally breathe in water, or like you drink weird and then like shoots out your nose, or like
yeah,
blah blah blah, whatever. And like that's always such like an uncomfortable feeling. And so drowning in something like that or whatever would be terrible. But like, can you imagine this? Like how you're saying the sand version of it, like having sand particulates get into your lungs and whatever, or trying to breathe out and then you got sand coming out your nose and you're just like fighting for air and it's just like, ugh, yuck, no. That's a good one,
yes,
Joe, or a good one, Tech Tash. That's a good one.
yes. And I would even say, let's see here. Honestly, and I'm gonna totally, you know anything about me, you know that Alien is a movie that'll come up pretty frequently if you know anything about me. But um, the chest burster of getting killed like that,
Oh yes.
it's just everything about it. The fact that the it's why the alien is the xenomorph is such a good designed creature because it's so like it's got a lot of undertones of like a creature that basically violates you in the worst possible ways, and then it like impregnates you unwillingly, like by lodging into your throat, right?
Yes.
And then after you take it off of you, you think everything's okay for about 10 to 15 minutes. You think everything's okay, or maybe an hour or two, and then all of a sudden that thing just basically plummets out of your stomach. It's just
Yes.
like that. Yeah, that would be like a horrible way to go.
And like how you said,
Like
like you
it's
have that whole like that time where you're like, okay, I think everything's fine. I think I'm okay
yeah,
now. And that whatever. It's like
cool
I feel
down.
like a
Yes,
little worse for wear and that kind of stuff, but like I feel okay. It's like, you know what, I think I'm gonna be just fine then. And that whatever, like,
yes,
oh
yeah, and then it just comes out and it's like, oh, that's that. And then I would actually say, I'm trying to think here, what was the other one I had? It was oh, it was the I would actually say that it would be in what's that movie? It was in called. I actually would say that it's actually in what's it called? I'm gonna butcher this. I would say actually, believe it or not, I would say actually being attacked, like even psycho style in the shower, is something that I would really not like because
Sure.
you're feeling very vulnerable and it's kind of a violation of a lot of senses. One, it's like, okay, being attacked, period, is just like
Not
terrible.
cool.
But yeah, but you're also like completely exposed.
Yes.
So there is no like, well, you know, as bad as it is, at least I'm being like, at least my shirt kind of like, it feels like you're being violated in multiple ways, not just being attacked. You are, you are being like, because your first instinct is like, oh, someone sees me, like, oh, I don't like that. But then you're also being attacked.
Well, like
I just think that's,
when you're in the shower, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's like most people don't have like say like a window in their shower or things like that. Usually it's a closed space. And so you're being confronted. You're showering, so you're presumably naked and that kind of stuff. So you don't have like anything to like even like
yes,
slightly protect you clothing wise. You don't have anything on you like, oh, do I have like something in my pocket that I could try and fight back with? Like no one's carrying a knife around with them per se, but it's like you're like, I don't have
no.
like a pencil or something like that or whatever. I'm gonna maybe try to bludgeon them with a shampoo bottle if I can think quick enough and ever, but knife versus shampoo bottle, I'm sorry, knife is gonna win.
And it's very like, it's, how do I say this? It, you don't even, and also what's kind of made, this might sound like a weird fear, but it's even like when you look at shoes, it's important to have shoes on because, sorry, just hold on just one second. I just got to pee real fast. Hold on.
They got it. All right, you guys. So right now I'm going to be starting on doing some of the scary effects. So what I'm going to be doing is taking these little cotton rounds. I'm going to be breaking them apart like this, and we're going to use this as kind of like builder base never on the ground and put some latex over it to give us some varying texture. That way we can kind of have like at the end like some exposed skin. Like I'm planning on like this whole bottom part of my face being more like exposed skin. So you guys will see where I'm going with it. But good tip in there, whatever, is if you have the cotton balls, I feel like cotton balls work way better than these little guys. But this is all I got right now, and so we're gonna be resourceful today and that. But so I'm gonna be using that, and then just some liquid latex, this kind of stuff, whatever you can get from like Spirit Halloween. I ordered this off of Amazon. It was like I think it was like max $12, but I went to Spirit of Halloween. They had it for like over $20. That was like definitely don't want to be spending $20 on that. Oh, and they got it sealed so tight. There we go. They really, really, really don't want your son to be able to get into that. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Okay. So I was going to say, I always have had this kind of like phobia about in wearing shoes out in public because this is going to sound paranoid, so bear with me, guys. But it's like, hey, when you're out, I always thought about, man, if you were attacked, right? If
Right.
you were attacked and you're barefoot, you kind of, your shoes or your feet are kind of a good weapon to be able to kick somebody or like, if you're barefoot, how much of an effect is kicking someone going to do? Little to nothing,
Yes.
right? So when you're in the shower, multiply that times like 50 because you literally have nothing. You're completely naked. So it's like you feel just very helpless in that regard. So I always have said like I think that would be a terrible way to go because it's like you feel like, oh man, like I'm not only being violated, but this might sound strange too. I would hate for my loved ones to have find me dead and naked like that
Yes.
because it just feels like the ultimate disrespect.
Yes. Like it
So
feels like something that like you're just like I don't know, it feels dehumanizing, or like feels kind of like I said, like it just feels like very not like disrespectful and that kind of stuff, but it feels like something where you're like there's like not like a shame to it, but like it's like when people say the whole like dying on the toilet and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. So I would say those are my. What about what would you say are yours?
Okay, so I wrote some down in there, but I think I have three down. So one that's just kind of a general one, and there whatever. I think honestly, any kind of most any of like the saw traps. I feel like that's a really good,
Yeah,
just kind of
I
general.
almost listed one of those,
Like
but
those
yes,
just seem like so terrible, so horrible. I do not want to experience that ever, 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 ever. In that, but I would say like other ones that are more specific though. Um, you saw the Silent Hill movie, right?
I did.
Okay, so
I
the
did.
Silent Hill movie, there's one part in that kind of stuff where they're trying to head back into the church, and wherever the alarm's going off, and wherever and Pyramid Head shows up, and there's the one girl that's like the daughter of one of the um I don't know, I about said crazy people, but just like the super religious people that are hiding out there.
Okay.
And what was it? Pyramid Head picks her up and that kind of stuff or whatever, and then like grabs her like right in the center of her chest and then rips off all of her skin, like how people do with like a rabbit after they like
Mhm.
hunt it and that kind of stuff or whatever, and just like rips off all of her skin and then throws it up against the doors and that kind of stuff of the church and that whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely don't want to have all of my skin ripped off. That would be horrible. I would not be a big fan of that.
For sure.
Or
Absolutely. No, I can definitely see that.
yeah, would not like that. Or like, did you ever see the Terrifier?
I never did see the Terrifier. No.
Okay. There's like one point, like it's one of those shows where it's like there's things I like about it, but then like sometimes it feels like it's just like gruesome and grotesque just for the sake of being like gruesome and grotesque.
It's just kind of like it's kind of a movie that doesn't a measure amount to more than the sum of its parts kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. And it's like I don't know, it's
Okay.
like it's got some good scare or good tension quality to it and things like that. But at the end of the day, it just kind of feels like some of the stuff was just like really, really, really over the top just for the sake of being over the top. But one of the parts in there that really freaked me out, and that was he's got like this person's friend and that kind of stuff or whatever, and she's strung upside down and that or whatever, and like legs in the air, arms down, and that kind of stuff or whatever. And he like takes like I think it's just like a hacksaw, like one of those saws that you pull back and forth, and just literally cuts her in half straight down the center.
Mm,
Like just super, super,
that's
super slow. And I'm like, that would feel horrible. That would
awful.
be horrible, and that would just be so gross. And I say so gross. Ew, so yucky. Stop cutting me in half. Yuck. No, but like, but you know what I mean. Where it's just like you're like that would just be horrible. That would be such
Painful.
a horrible way to go.
Yeah. No, and especially how slow. Can you imagine like the feeling of this cutting? Like
Oh,
I can't stand
and it would take
like
forever because it's going from like
I know.
it's not like they're starting at your head and then it's like your brain is gonna stop functioning and that kind of stuff or whatever. It's like
No,
literally
it would just you would feel it's almost like burning to death. Like it's like you would feel it to the very end, basically.
yes, that would be horrible. And that it's like that would definitely be a horrible way to go. Like, what was it? Did you ever see what was it? I know that they did it in a few different ones and ever, but in American Horror Story, the 1984 series, and that they did
I didn't see 84 yet.
it's honestly it's like there's things that I like about it, but like the thing that drives me the most nuts about American Horror Story is the fact that it feels like it starts off with a lot of promise or has like some really good direction that it's going in and that kind of stuff, and then like either they reveal who like the main plot and that kind of stuff, and then after the main plot is like resolved and that kind of stuff, it's like then it just doesn't know what to do with itself anymore, and
Yeah,
then it just kind of
it's
like
kind of
goes downhill, and I feel like it really, 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 really suffered from that. But
it's always kind of that saying of $1 million move and a 10-cent finish.
oh dude, that's such a good way to put it though, because that's what it feels like. It feels like those movies and they
Yeah.
ever just have like, or those shows, it's like it has such promise, or there's like so much I like about it, or I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's like I really, really, really enjoy this, and then like it just derails so quickly, and it drives me nuts. But anyways, at one point in time, they're at a camp and that kind of stuff, and so they have like really big industrial size oven and that kind of stuff, and one of the dudes gets put in there, and they turn the oven on, and like it's a really, really slow process when you're watching it,
Okay.
and you're just like, oh, zero te gustas. I do not want to go out, like I said, the burning to death sort of way. Would not like that at all.
For sure. No, no. Yeah. No, it's weird because when you get older, you're like, man, if I was to go, I would just want it to be quick and painless. Like just like, or like I fall asleep and then I don't wake back up. Or
Yes.
hey, if I was to get killed, just like I don't want to see it coming.
Yes.
You know, just like boom, like just a quick bang, and then I don't even see that. So it's like, yeah, I definitely understand that. Like, well, that would be definitely like in terms of. You see, it's funny. Like I actually saw one thing. This isn't a movie, so I'll list it kind of more last because it wasn't something I saw in a movie. But there's a channel that did the whole thing of like, what would be, how do I say this? Like the ways they used to like basically torture people back in the day.
Oh, sure. Those are pretty
And I
gruesome.
remember, yeah, like one of them was like they would basically put you in. I don't even know what the torture's called. So those of you historians, feel free to do your job. But it's where they would take you and they would basically like they would put you in like water and they would basically just let you get soggy and
Oh
rot
no.
basically.
Yeah, sure.
And then the flies would say like done you. Oh,
Yuck.
that to me seems like that's very terrible way to go.
Yes.
like I didn't see it in the movie, but I did hear about it. That's awful because it like I said, it's like you don't get to like you have to suffer through it. It's not like you okay quick and then it's done. It's like so that definitely is one where I'm like, oh, that's not cool.
No, dude, I'd agree. Like, honestly, there's a lot of those like medieval like torture methods or even just like execution methods that you're just like, wow, y'all like were really trying to go like above and beyond to be like sick and depraved in there, but weren't you?
Yeah, for sure. No, like I hate that. I really can't stand that, and I hate. I just. Ugh. I'm glad we exist today, right?
Yeah, right. Where it's like things are at least a little bit measurably not
Better
as
than that. Not
insane
as
as that.
crazy. Yeah, for sure. Which obviously we still. I mean, there's always problems no matter what, but
Oh yeah,
definitely I'll take that for sure.
any day of the week.
Yeah,
All right,
I
dude.
agree, man.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What would you say is like your favorite scary movie that really hits the sweet spot for you for scary movies and never, or just it's something that like particularly speaks to you where you're like, yeah, that's my kind of scary movie. Like that's a scary movie I can get down with.
Honestly, for me, and again, it's like mine's probably going to be Alien, just because of this aspect. It's kind of got every box that I like in a horror movie.
Okay.
One, it's got atmosphere. That's one. Okay. Two, it's claustrophobic, like that, right? Okay. Three, I think that the creature design or like the deaths are very creative. I like when the deaths like her signature and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, that's
Yes.
really remember that. It's got really likable characters that feel very real to me. Like I think Alien is kind of a masterclass of like, because imagine if it's your first time watching it. We all love Ripley. I mean, who doesn't love Ripley?
Oh
But
yeah.
you don't really know who the main character is. But like when you first watch Alien, you don't. It's not really clear who the main character is, right? So, because everyone knows now because of cultural relevance and like we've all seen Alien and Aliens, and we've seen what the franchise has become. But back then, it really wasn't clear. It really was like she could have died, and you would have been like, oh yeah, yeah. I like that level of anxiety because it's not really clear who the main character is, so therefore it makes it like you don't know who's gonna live and who's gonna die. Like you really don't know.
Which is very true. Having that like
Yeah.
sense of like, oh, I don't know who the main character is, it really makes it so that you're like, I don't know who's gonna be the person that dies.
Yes. And I would also say, this is gonna sound weird, Alien, when you look at it, it's really a simplistic plot. Pretty simple. Like it's not like trying to re-examine life. It's not trying to like it's very simple. It's like, hey, there's this bad creature on the loose and it's killing people and we got to find a way to escape.
Yes.
It's like it's not like metaphorical, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I can't love a movie that's like got deeper themes or like got underlying layers. I can appreciate that very much, but Alien just hits that spot for me where it's like it's simple. I love that they actually make the astronauts or the whatever they are in the movie. This, they don't talk like, oh, they're scientists. They just talk like normal people.
Yeah.
And I love that because it makes it feel a bit more real. And every character is very like likable in their own way. They fit it on. I feel like especially the first two Aliens, very good at that, of making you really actually like these characters. Even the ones that were like supposed to be a jerk or were supposed to be annoying, they had a charisma about them that was like, no, but they fit their role very well. And you don't like to see them killed, even if they're kind of like the jerk. You're like, yeah, but I don't want to see him killed though. He might be a jerk, but I don't want to. It's almost like a family member that drives you nuts. You might be like, okay, they might drive you nuts, but I don't want to see anything bad happen to them.
Sure. That's a good way to put that
Okay.
also.
Yeah. It just has that like the horrifying deaths, the creature design. It's practical also. It's very like minimal to no CGI, because that is one thing in horror. I really like it when they dial back CG, because I'm always in like horror. I'm like, you don't really need it a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you never need it, because there are definitely caveats and exceptions to the rule. But in a lot of times in horror, it's very like you can work a lot around making it dark or things like that. So I would actually say Alien is a very good catalyst for generally what I like in a horror movie is like good characters, practical, good atmosphere. It's got kind of like subtle music that's haunting. It kind of just hits a lot of sweet spots for me that I really enjoy about like horror. I would say it sparks the imagination. The creature design's brilliant in every evolution. That's what's kind of crazy about the xenomorph too. I'll say that is like every form of it I think is actually very well designed. Whether it's the face hugger, whether it's the thing that bursts from your chest, or whether it's the full blown or full grown xenomorph, it all looks really cool.
Yes.
So it's like I would say those things. And honestly, to summarize it, someone said it. It's funny because when they made Alien, they summarize it. It's basically Jaws in space.
That's an interesting way to say that though. Jaws in space.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I would say that's kind of Jaws can kind of fit that category too. But the thing Alien does have, and no disrespect to Jaws, because Jaws is also classic. Alien kind of leans a little heavier into the fantasy. I feel not that Jaws doesn't have any fantasy in it; it does. But I would say that Alien leans a little more fantasy into the horror, which I kind of is a little bit more up my alley.
No, sure.
So it's like I would say that's kind of like my sweet spot. What about yourself, my friend?
I would say, as far as like movies that really hit my sweet spot or stuff that like I just really love these scary movies and I feel like they keep me coming back to them, would have to be Silent Hill. Love,
Okay.
love, love, love that movie. I think that it has such great atmosphere. It's got that remarkably beautiful, amazing OST in there, whatever that's original from the games. So
True.
cool. Never just really sets the tone in the environment. The more that I watched like the special features and that kind of stuff of Silent Hill, the more I became in love with it because like the guy that plays Pyramid Head and that whatever also plays the janitor, but he's also the choreographer for the monsters and that kind of
Okay.
stuff. So he's the one that like trained everybody on like, okay, this is how we're gonna move, this is how we're gonna interact in the world, like the iconic nurse scene and that kind of stuff where you see like the nurses with their faces all bandaged up and that and the creepy eerie way that they move. They're all professional dancers, and he had choreographed all of that, and I just think that it's just so fabulous. And like, oh, there's like so many different things, like where when they very first go into the Silent Hill world, Rose and that or whatever, and she crashes the car, wakes up, and then she starts walking down this like winding road that takes her to Silent Hill. Come to find out, that windy road that's in the mist and that or whatever was built in a set and that kind of stuff inside of a building, and that, which I thought
Okay.
was so cool, that like you would believe that it's like outside and they're out in the real world and that kind of stuff, but it is just, what's it called? It is a set piece and whatever. And I just think they did such a great job. I don't know if it's because of like my roots and that kind of stuff or whatever with where I'm from, but I do love the religious aspect of it. I think it's pretty crazy. I think that it also ties into my second favorite and ever, which is The Mist, because
Okay.
I think they
That's a
both
good
kind of,
choice.
well, I think they both play on that idea of like, okay, some sort of like end of the world crazy tragedy thing is happening, or like some sort of like, oh my gosh, it's like this crazy stuff is happening out there in the world and that, you know what I mean? And it's like, how do people react to it? The people in Silent Hill and that whatever brought about that horror and that kind of stuff by trying to sacrifice Alessa, and then they ended up causing her to like split from her like light self and her dark self and whatever, which created like the forever burning coal mines and that kind of stuff underneath the city, which like shrouded them in the mist and that. And then every day they do the whole like, oh well, we're like religious people and that kind of stuff, where it's like we're trying to like do this and this and that and whatever to try and like keep the darkness at bay. But then it shows kind of the depravity of like them hiding behind like a holy mission or like a holy gaze and that kind of stuff, to be able to just actually kind of do all of the terrible stuff that they are doing and that. So like
Okay.
same thing with the mist in there, where you have this like unforeseen crazy event happen where it's like everybody's kind of forced to be like, ah, what the crap, ah, and that, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's like, it's just, to me, I think what I'm like, how I said, like really scared of in a modern day and age is how people react and never when they're pushed against the wall and that, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
I
how
feel
they
like
you're into which makes sense. You're into very much like when the stakes when the chips are down, how do people react to it? How
yes,
is it how do people handle it? Yeah, and I totally definitely like get that too. Like that like okay, the larger than life, we really see who people are. We really see the in and outs of people. We see, you know, because it can become very Lord of the Flies very quickly,
that's a
obviously.
great reference for that.
Yeah. And that is a fun element to see. And because the mist is actually I felt like I even feel like that's kind of like slept on a bit. Like it's actually really good. Like the
I love that movie.
elements of like what they play with and stuff. Because I remember actually watching that when I was like I've seen it a couple times, but I watched it first when I was like 18, 19, or no, when I was like 19 or I can't remember, 19 or 20 around there. And then I saw it when I was in my mid 20s and in my late 20s, but it's got a lot of strong storytelling beats, I feel. Like it's got and honestly, even when you looked at Silent Hill, I do understand the appreciation in terms of like that to me what I can say is it felt like it really did try to like especially with the soundtrack like you had said it tried to really honor the game
Yes.
whereas like a lot of times I feel like with video game movies they don't really I mean let me rephrase I think nowadays they're getting more onto that as far as like okay let's try to give people what they want. I'm not saying there aren't like bad ones because there are but with the recent like Last of Us or even Fallout which I think you've seen a little bit of Last of Us or Fallout. I
Yes.
don't even know if you've seen it, but they do a good job of like when you watch Fallout, which I actually really liked, but it's actually like you're like, oh no, dude, I'm in the Fallout universe. Like I'm in here. Like I feel like this feels like it's in spirit. It might not be like, oh, it's beat for beat, but it just has that feeling. You know, like I feel like okay. Whereas I feel like a lot of movies kind of miss that mark of like missing the feeling where it's like because like you even said with Silent Hill is that it tried to capture that. Whereas there are some games where you're like, dude, I have no idea. Like this story doesn't even, if I didn't know what it was called, I would have no idea that it's tied into the game, like at
Yeah,
all.
right. Or if like you were actually like an enthusiast and ever of the video game or that kind of stuff, it's like you would be watching it and you're like, this literally has nothing, nothing to
Yeah.
do with the game or the movie, and you're like, who are they trying to kid here? Who are they trying to fool?
Yes. No, most definitely. So it's like, I would definitely say for that, I can definitely see how that would like, that hits your sweet spot of like what you generally kind of gravitate to.
Yeah, just
Like,
because it's like, I don't know. It's like I feel like there's like people might even be like, the mist. That's not like quote unquote scary. It's like I feel like there's a difference between like slasher movies or like things like that. You know what I mean? Or what people might consider like the typical quote unquote scary movie. Like I said, it's like I'm
yeah,
usually kind of more scared from, because for me it's not even the cosmic horror. Like for me it's like, yeah, sure, there's the mist outside and people go out into the mist and whatever, and spooky stuff happens and people are killed in cosmic horror ways and whatever. But what scares me in whatever is the people inside. Like the idea of like they're like, instead of trying to come together and be like, okay, well, how do we survive? How do we make it through this and whatever? How do we stick together and how do we like pull through together as people and whatever? They start turning on each other, or they start like going to these crazy like fanatic ideas of like, well, we got to do this kind of thing, or we got to sacrifice this person, or like then it just creates this frisson effect of like people like, I don't know, it almost feels like a de-evolution of humanity, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, that's a brilliantly said. I love that. Yes, and I can agree. It feels like society's set back like a couple hundred years. Like,
Yes.
yeah, no, that's I love that the de-evolution of humanity because it's like it's true.
that's exactly how it feels. It feels very like the caveman primal side takes over, and it's weird because like that gives me a like, I do like it, but I can admit it does kind of give me a lot of anxiety sometimes
Yes.
because like there's certain elements where I'm like, oh, that's it's very like, because it's very real. I've seen how people act. I mean, obviously not in like an apocalypse. I haven't been in that, but
No,
you
sure.
know what I'm saying.
Hopefully not.
I mean, heavens, I've seen how people. Have you seen how people act when they lose at bingo? Sometimes, I mean, like,
Or when there's a toilet paper shortage.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, seriously. People
yeah.
get crazy over really small things, so I don't want to see like the absolute, oh, I just like, I don't know. So that's like the stuff that freaks me out, or like the idea of another movie that I feel like really tickles my sweet spots, or like I feel like when I watch it I'm like, okay, this is scary, or like this is something that like scares me, that like, not even to say like, oh, this could really be happening, but do you remember People Under the Stairs?
Oh yes, yes,
I
yes, yes.
love that movie. Like I love that
Ooh,
movie
it's so good.
so much.
Yeah, it's cool. Though I like that element too. It's got like a lot of like traps or like it is cool. I do like that. I
When I
like
feel
that.
like it ties in that same kind of thing as far as like, so you've got really wealthy landlords and that kind of stuff, and I feel like it touches on especially like racism and that, whatever, back in the day where there was a disparagement between like, oh, the white middle upper class and that, whatever, and then like, oh, and the ghetto neighborhoods that quote unquote the black people live in and things like that, whatever. And I feel like it
Right.
touched on some like really good cultural issues in that I think it handled really
Yeah,
well in that, whatever.
without even being like ham-fisted. It was actually well done. Yeah. Like when I think about like the way that it was done, it was actually done in a like cool way. Yeah. Like it was like it felt like it was like honest and sincere,
Yes.
which is nice. So it's like, yeah, but I remember liking that movie too. That movie had like it was very like the traps or just like it was cool. Like I did like that element of um I like that element too. Like it's fun to like play with. So it's
Well,
like, but it's sorry, go ahead.
well, it's like I like the idea of like, okay, so you've got like these landlords and that, whatever, and they're like the quote unquote rich upper class and that kind of stuff, where it's like they own all these housing complexes and things like that, and what they want to do is they want to kick the poor people out of their neighborhood so that they can turn them into big condos full of good upstanding people, even though it's like the ghettos and that were basically a trap and that were created for people to fall into and that. And whether or not it's like it is a trap, it's like it's people's homes and people live there. And so you have Fool and who's like the main character, and his mom is dying from I want to say it's like cancer, and she needs to get a surgery in that. And then on top of it, it's like they're like, oh well, the landlords are gonna kick them out and that kind of stuff, and they don't even care that his mom's dying and things like that or whatever. And from the outside looking in, the way that people perceive the landlords is like, oh, they're just some sort of like white bread couple and that kind of stuff who just live their lives and things like that and just are boring people or whatever. But then it turns out that they have quote unquote the people under the stairs, as you know, and the people under the stairs are all kids that they've kidnapped and that whatever,
Yeah.
because they were trying to have the perfect child and whatever, and they couldn't conceive a child of their own because lo and behold, you find out that they're brother and sister and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so they're trying to like have the perfect child, and so they would like kidnap these kids and they'd be like, oh, this is our perfect little baby and whatever, but this one saw too much, and so they plucked out his eyes and whatever. This one spoke back to them and whatever and talked bad to them and said bad words and that, so they cut his tongue out and things like that. And the only remaining kid that had been kidnapped and whatever is Alice, the girl, and she literally does everything in her power to like try and walk on eggshells, mind her P's and Q's and that kind of stuff, takes their abuse and things like that or whatever, because she doesn't want to end up like the people under the stairs, even though she has like a good relationship with the people under the stairs as far as like they help her out, or like Roach and that kind of stuff or whatever, the one that has his tongue cut out, is always like trying to help her. She will try and like leave scraps of food for him to find, because not only do they live under the stairs, but people like Roach figured out a way to get out from under the stairs and lives in between the walls and that or whatever. And like
Okay.
it's just crazy because I feel like it does a really good job at kind of putting a lens on the whole like don't trust what you see people for face value. Is like there can be really terrible people that have poised themselves to be like really good people and that. And I don't know, like I said, I feel like it touched on not only classism but also racism and that whatever really well. And I don't know, it's a movie that like I feel like has really good scare factors to it. It's got good what was it? Not anticipation, but where you're sitting there like suspense
And
and that
tension, or like,
good
yeah, like
tension.
just,
That's a good way to say it.
yeah, like it's, no, I remember liking that as a kid. I was going to ask one thing because like um before we, because we're probably getting ready to move on to the next one, right? Close, at least close
Yes.
to it.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is there any way, which, and for this I totally apologize, but I'm just saying this, is there any way we could take a small break for this angle? I do have to use the bathroom, and I haven't eaten anything all day.
Sure.
So
I would say like usually with when I take breaks in there, where it's like I usually take like just really quick breaks where it's like I literally run to the bathroom and then come back. And so in that light, I would want to give us a time limit if that's okay.
okay. I was thinking, like, let's see, because I also am going to also, like, while I'm just eating and stuff like that, I was going to charge my phone because it's like it's not too low yet, but it's like at like 25%. So I want to make sure that it's good.
Okay.
So let's see. I'm thinking here. What would you say would be a good time limit for you?
Well, because I usually don't like to take like too long of breaks and ever. Tell me what you were thinking. That way, it's I can kind of base it off of there and see like what would be the best next step.
Okay. Um, I'm thinking, let's see, maybe I think 20 to 30, maybe.
20 to 30. Um, I would say in that light, do you have a charger that you can plug your phone into? Because I like right now it's like what I do is I just keep my phone on a charger and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And there, so that might help you with it not dying and that whatever. I would say
Okay.
20 minutes is probably the longest that I could go just
Okay.
for what's it called? I don't know, just so it's like just for it being like a long be right back screen and things like that or whatever. So would 20 minutes be okay?
I think 20 minutes could work.
Okay.
Do you want me to just leave the stream, or do you want me to stay in?
With it,
I mean,
I would. You could probably leave it in there, whatever, and then come back in that, whatever. What
Okay.
I'll do is we are looking at 2:17 my time. So it'd be like 3:17 your time. Let's plan on us being back at 2:40 or 3:40 your time. That sound good?
Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay.
So yeah, let me go do this. I'll go do this real quick, and I'm gonna charge it while we wait. But I'll exit, and then I should be back.
Okay. All right, you guys. I'm gonna give you guys a be right back screen. I also do need to let the latex on my face dry a little bit before we start applying more makeup to it, and I'm gonna be applying some skin lift off in this top area, so that'll actually be good. Give me a little bit of dry down time. So it is 2:17 right now. I'll put that in the chat. I will see you guys in about 20 minutes in there, whatever. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys a little be right back screen, and we will be back in about 20 minutes. Okay. See you guys in just a minute.
All right. See you, man.
Well, hello. Welcome back to IZB TV. So sorry for that quick little break. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, yes son. Oh, we got a little timer right there. We got a little timer. I gotta fix that, you guys. Gotta fix that. I think we gotta save this like a bop. And then that should be fixed like bop. Perfection. Except for, I think that like our chat's all gone now and never on our side. All the cute little chat's gone. Okay, but quick little update. So, what was it? Tectash had a little bit of an emergency in there. Whatever. He let me know that something crazy was going on in his end, and so unfortunately, we're gonna be continuing the rest of the stream solo. But I'm already this far into doing like my makeup and there, whatever. So I definitely want to finish this out with you guys. So we are going to. I want to do this one. I want to refresh that, see if we can get back to. There we go. There we go. Now we got the chat back. Now we got the chat back on the side. Okay. So with it, instead of it being him and I discussing different things and ever, I'm just gonna be kind of going over different horror stuff as I like finish out my makeup. That way we can make sure we get this all good and going my Leighton and there whatever. Because after I get done with this, I'm gonna be doing the Silent Hill 2 and there whatever. We're gonna keep playing that game. And right now I'm looking at about 2:35 my time. And I don't want to. I want to start no later than like maybe 4 o'clock. So we want to get this stuff going. But this stuff should be getting dry, getting pretty good to go. So we got to do next part and therever of this, which next part is going to involve tissue paper, and whatever. And what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to tear it, because with this tear, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a false edge to my face and whatever. I want to kind of map it out and that. And what we're gonna do is create a skin flap that we can lift up. And so with it, what you want to do is I'm gonna pull this headphone back. We're gonna kind of map it out on the side and that. I want to probably connect like me right there. So it might actually be a little bit lower than we want it to be. About like right there. About right there. So you might actually want to take it about maybe even half of that length. Like maybe like go like that. I've done this before and ever, but I think that I did this part first versus doing the what's it called? Doing the underneath part. I think I did the other part foist and that. So I'll make sure that we're actually live and up and ready. Okay, so we do have the okay, I just want to make sure that the Be Right Back screen wasn't still going on, because sometimes I do forget to leave or take that off and that. What we want to do is we want to make it about that size. That way it's like what we're going to do is we're going to lay it down with the liquid latex. And then what we're going to do is lift it up. So I kind of want to place it like about right there. And get some of this down for tact. That way we have something sticky for it to stick to. You guys, I promise there's a method to this madness. There's a method to this madness, I promise. Then we want to go like bop, 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 then bop, 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 bop. Then that'll be the end of it. So we're gonna use our finger and then tear. Oh, did so good, you guys. Who's a professional? Who's a professional? You guys are like, how did this start off with like eye makeup and now it's going to like putting tissue paper like all over my face? But I promise you guys, there's a method. There's a method to this madness. Kind of like that. Because we want this to eventually be like a skin fold that we're lifting up. You guys, this is gonna be so crazy. Like, so crazy. So I hope you guys are all having an absolutely fabulous day and whatever. Probably didn't think you were gonna be watching a Hobbit like casually just like putting this kind of stuff all over his face. Oh, it's super wrinkly too. Because what we want to do is give the appearance that this is like skin that's going to be lifted up off of our face. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that I did this step first before, then lift it up, and then put the stuff underneath it. Never, I'm pretty sure. So that's kind of drying. We're going to go and do our other side. So I want to take this, give that a good little terramalations. Give it a little side tear. Because once we start getting like the actual like makeup on, they'll start coming together. They'll start coming together. But some other movies I wanted to talk about as far as like my favorite niche or like kind of B horror movies. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the movie Drag Me to Hell, but that was probably one of my top favorite like B horror films. Oh, so good. It's like a subversion of like horror in the sense of, you guys remember like Cabin in the Woods? And ever Cabin in the Woods and ever I feel like follows something similar, but they do it a lot more in your face, where they're kind of being like the whole like, these are tropes of like scary movies and that or whatever, and we're trying to like really point like the what was it? The magnifying glass and ever on it. Oh my gosh, I am being super crazy right now. But oh, I guess I don't need to have my headphones on. I'm not listening to anything anymore. Oh, no more headphones. Oh, forgot. Never, since we don't have a head, or we're not talking to Tectashstation ever. I don't even have my headphones on. We ain't playing a game. We ain't doing nothing like that. I apologize if you guys can hear saw blades in the background. Not in a Saw movie, I promise. I think that roommates decided that although we're streaming, today would be a really good day to do some Saw related projects. Okay. I want to take off this Xmish right here. Good. Take off that excess. Because I want to turn these into like skin flaps. But Drag Me to Hell, love that movie. Stars this one gal and that kind of stuff. She works at a bank, and it basically just follows her life and whatever as she is trying to figure out how to like move up in the world, be with her boyfriend, all that kind of crazy stuff. But then there is this gypsy woman that comes into her bank and whatever. She's late on her payments and ever for her house, for her mortgage, and she's trying to get an extension. But the main character, the gal that works at the bank, she needs to close accounts and she needs to not give out these kind of loans and whatever in order to further her career according to her boss. And so her boss is like, well, she's already gotten like 3 extensions now already, so we really need to make sure that we handle this with care and that kind of stuff. He doesn't even say that, like handle it with care. But I might not be able to get it. I think I did it in the wrong order. I might actually have to like, anyways, he's like, if you want to get that promotion and that kind of stuff or whatever, you need to go and tell that gypsy woman no more extensions and whatever. It's like, oh yeah, we might not be able to get it like this. Maybe what I should do is, maybe I should put it on and then cut it and then do the flap underneath it. I think I might do that. So that let's take off this. Oh, I even got stuck in my hers. Stuck in my hers. Guys, this is definitely starting to like really fall apart. Oh no. Narrative. I did this so good last year. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I did this top flat part first versus doing it second. So I might even do is like I said, maybe oh my gosh, and like long ass crazy nails makes it way crazier. But anyways, so with Drag Me to Hell, what basically happens is tells the gypsy woman no, we're not giving an extension on the house. The gypsy woman curses her and gives her a button and basically curses her from the Lamnia and that kind of stuff, and tells the girl that it's like the Lamnia is gonna like find you, gonna haunt you and whatever. It's like I think it's like 3 days of haunting her. And then after that she has to like try and like dispel the curse and that whatever. And I don't know, it goes through like this whole entire process of like really listing out like different things we see as like horror tropes, but instead of like cabin in the woods that like is like, oh yeah, this is like what we do in there, and we're trying to do this because this is like what we've always done, and this is part of like horror movies and like blah 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 blah. Never. Drag Me to Hell does a really good job at like making you feel like everything is happening seriously in the movie. You know, I have latex in my hair for days after this, for days, and that. But what was it? I don't know. If you haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, I'm doing a really bad job at explaining it. Never, but I absolutely love that movie. Same thing with Trick or Treat. I think Trick or Treat has been getting a lot more traction, especially with Call of Duty or yeah, Call of Duty, because they're like releasing skins and that kind of stuff for it. And Call of Duty and that whatever has a really cool skin for Trick or Treat, but Trick or Treat follows like an anthology of little town, bunch of different stories all happening at once. The main character is the harbinger of Halloween, which is Sam. And Sam is this little burlap cutie, and that has pumpkin for a head. He's always like eating on this like piece of candy. And if you don't observe Halloween respectfully or like put out your Halloween decorations and things like that, you're gonna get a visit from Sam, because Sam is a stickler for Halloween. He's the harbinger of Halloween. Of course he'd be. Of course he'd be that. But love that movie. I think it's a really good B horror film. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely check that one out. And I already brought this one up before, but People Under the Stairs. I love that movie. Such a good movie. I wish more people in there ever had seen it, because it honestly does not get nearly enough attention, and I love that scary movie. You guys are like, what is this dude doing? We're creating our pretend skin flaps right now. That way we can do kind of a little bit more of like red and bloody and that kind of stuff on the bottom, and have our skin look like it's been torn off about halfway through. But in order to do that, we got to do this first. This is a good look for me, right? This is definitely a really good look for me. Never nailing it. Miss America 5000, hello. I'm looking for world peace and also pizza in my face. Woo! Thinking that we might actually even want to cut the excess off. So learn from me to you. Do the flat part first, not this bottom part and then the flat part. So cut off this excess without cutting my hair, hopefully. Maybe. I think I probably cut off a big chunk of my long hair. I'm pretty sure. And I wanted to have this top part a little bit more perforated. Maybe we can just even like this. That there, and then go. There we go. Oh, there we go. That way we can have a perforated edge, because perforated edges I found definitely blend better than like cut edges in that, as far as for what we're trying to accomplish. Is that like a hair? That's totally a hair. You see that little hair right there? Totally got a hair. I'm gonna layer this up nice and good with that liquid latex. You put down the paper in there, whatever, so that it has something more stiff to hold on to, because then it's going to give it a lot better rigidity, if you will. Oh, the intensity of this, like, latex near my eyes is like, oh, it's making my eyes water, baby. It's making my eyes water, make my eyes burn my eyes. Ooh, okay. So now that we're at that point and that kind of stuff, I actually want to pull this up down here and there, whatever. So we're gonna take this, turn that off, leave, pull up a new one, because I want to read you the synopsises of these scary movies that I love so much. Let's do that, and then pop. Then let's do this. Give me a synopsis of, let's do, wait, allow this time. Okay. Give me a synopsis of the movie People Under the Stairs. Okay, so it says People Under the Stairs is a dark, twisted horror film by Wes Craven. The story follows a young boy named Fool who, along with his accomplice, breaks into the home of their greedy and cruel landlords, the Robesons. As Fool explores the house, he discovers a horrifying secret. The Robesons have been kidnapping and mutilating children, imprisoning them beneath the floorboards. The couple's own daughter, Alice, is also a victim of their abuse, but she managed to escape the worst of their cruelty. Together, Fool and Alice must navigate the labyrinth house, outwit the monstrous Robesons, and escape with their lives. The film blends the elements of dark comedy and social commentary, creating a disturbing and unforgettable experience. Thank you. That is such a great way to put it. Honestly, it's like with that movie, it's like just has so many good scare factors, has such great tension and that whatever. Absolutely love it. There's so many excellent characters and that whatever, and love, 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 love it. Let's get a synopsis of what's it called? Trick or Treat. Give me a synopsis of the Halloween movie Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is a dark, comedic horror anthology film that intertwines several Halloween-themed stories. The film takes place on Halloween night in the fictional town of Warren Valley, Ohio. A mysterious childlike figure named Sam, wearing an orange burlap sack over his head, enforces the unspoken rules of Halloween. As various characters disregard these rules, they are facing terrifying consequences. The stories range from a group of teens playing a prank to a scornful woman who hates Halloween. This film is known for nostalgic atmosphere, its clever blend of horror and humor, and its iconic character, Sam. It is a must-watch for fans of Halloween and horror. Seriously, if you have not checked out Trick or Treat, you are missing out. It is so good. I love that movie. Definitely, 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 definitely give Trick or Treat a watch, you guys. And that. Okay. What's another one we should read a synopsis for? Oh, let's do a synopsis for Drag Me to Hell. I want to do a longer one. Give me a long, in-depth synopsis of the movie Drag Me to Hell. I love this movie. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay. Drag Me to Hell is a chilling horror film directed by Sam Raimi, known for its over-the-top style and penchant for the grotesque. The film centers around Christine Brown, a seemingly ordinary loan officer working her way up the corporate ladder. In a desperate attempt to impress her boss, she denies an elderly woman, Mrs. Ganache, a loan extension. Oh, denies her a loan extension. My bad, you guys. This seemingly minor act of cruelty sets in motion a terrifying chain of events. Mrs. Ganache, a Romanian woman with a deep connection to the occult, places a powerful curse upon Christine. The curse is known as the Lamia. It's a malevolent spirit that will drag its victims to the depths of hell after 3 days of escalating torment. As the days count down, Christine experiences a series of increasingly horrific supernatural attacks. Her once normal life is shattered as she is plagued by nightmarish visions, demonic possessions, and physical manifestations of the curse. Christine seeks help from a variety of sources, including a psychic, a priest, and a Romanian fortune teller. However, each attempt to break the curse proves futile, and the Lamnia's grip ever grows tighter. The film delves into the themes of greed, karma, and the consequence of selfish actions. I apologize. It explores the moral implications of Christine's decision and the lengths she will go to save her soul. The film is filmed with the iconic horror elements, including jump scares, grotesque imagery, practical effects, and Rami's signature style is evident in the fast-paced editing, exaggerated camera movements, and over-the-top performances. The climax is particularly intense and disturbing sequence that culminates in a shocking and unforgettable ending. Drag Me to Hell is a masterclass, thank you, in horror filmmaking, blending suspense, humor, and pure terror. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and the power of ancient curses. The film's enduring popularity is a testament to its ability to scare, shock, and entertain its audiences. I love Drag Me to Hell. If you guys haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, please see it. Please see it. Have you guys seen the movie Long Legs? Kevin and I never just barely watched Long Legs, and ever maybe like 3 weeks ago. I think about 3 weeks ago, and that kind of stuff. It was so good. I know that it's not like everybody's kind of movie, or like some people might think that maybe it has like too long of a burn, or it maybe might make people too uncomfortable and that, but oh, such a good movie. Such a good movie. Let's read a synopsis about it, you guys. Give me a long synopsis about the movie Long Legs. Okay. Make sure I've got that right. One schmeckin'. Just waiting for the latex to dry, baby. Just waiting for the latex to dry, ladies and gentlemen. Whoop. All right, you guys. Here's a synopsis for Long Legs. Long Legs is a 2024 American horror thriller film that delves into the chilling world of the occult and serial killers. The film follows FBI agent Lee Harker, a gifted and somewhat clairvoyant investigator, as she becomes entangled in a series of bizarre and gruesome murders. The killings, each one more disturbing than the last, bear the signature of a mysterious figure known only as Long Legs. This enigmatic killer leaves behind cryptic clues and a haunting symbol, suggesting a connection to dark, supernatural forces. As Harker digs deeper into the case, she uncovers a disturbing pattern. The victims are all young girls, born on the 14th of the month, and the murders seem to follow a sinister, occult ritual. Harker's investigation takes on a personal turn when she discovers the chilling connection between the case and her own past. As she races against time to stop the killer, she must confront her own fears and delve into the darkest corners of her mind. The film blends elements of psychological horror and supernatural thriller, creating a tense, unsettling atmosphere. With the atmospheric setting, eerie score, and strong performances, Long Legs offers a unique and disturbing take on the serial killer genre. The film's exploration of the occult themes and the psychological impact of violence adds depth and complexity to the narrative. Long Legs is a chilling and thought provoking film that will leave its viewers questioning the nature of the evil and the power of darkness. It was so good, and ever freaking Nicolas Cage was in it, and ever like it took me so long to realize that was Nicolas Cage because he literally did such a good job. Like I was like, that's Nicolas Cage. That dude looks like Miss Piggy on like scary steroids in that. But honestly, it just had such a great way of like I don't know, not subverting your expectations and that whatever, but like instead of doing the typical like, oh, shut the mirror, open the mirror, and then oh boo, there's the spoopy scary person. It like would lead you into those situations where you would almost anticipate something like that happening, and then wonderfully subvert your expectations where you're like, oh, I'm so glad that that didn't actually happen. And when it actually does delve into the scary stuff and that ever, you're like, this is unsettling. This is super, 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 super unsettling. All right, you guys, let's do one for Silent Hill. Silent Hill is one of my favorite movies in ever. What year did it come out? Never. Give me a long synopsis about the movie Silent Hill. Silent Hill is a psychological horror film that delves into the terrifying realm of a town shrouded in darkness and despair. The story revolves around Rose de Silvia, a woman desperate to help her adopted daughter Sharon, who has been plagued by disturbing nightmares about Silent Hill. Driven by mother's love, Rose takes Sharon to the mysterious town, only to find herself trapped in a nightmarish reality. As she ventures deeper into Silent Hill, she encounters a world distorted by fear and guilt, where the lines between the physical and spiritual begin to blur. The town's dark secrets begin to unravel, revealing a tragic past marked by religious fanaticism and the tragic fate of a young girl named Alessa Gillespie. Alessa's suffering has given birth to a malevolent force that haunts the town, transforming it into a grotesque, otherworldly landscape. Rose's journey is fraught with danger as she faces horrifying creatures born from the town's dark history. These creatures, manifestations of the town's collective fear, guilt, and are both grotesque and terrifying. As Rose delves deeper into the mystery, she must confront her own fears and the dark forces that threaten to consume her. The film masterfully blends psychological horror with supernatural elements, creating a haunting atmosphere that lingers long after the credits roll. Silent Hill is a visual masterpiece with its eerie, fog-filled streets and nightmarish creatures. The film's soundtrack, composed by Akira Yamakoa. I keep putting a K in there when there needs to not be a K in there. Akira Yamakoa further enhances the unsettling mood. Silent Hill is a chilling exploration of the human psyche and the power of darkness. It is a film that lingers in the mind and a testament to the enduring power of horror. Ah! Such good synopsises and whatever. Oh! I absolutely love Silent Hill. Which movie are we talking about? Wicker Man? No, we're not talking about Wicker Man, but I can look up a synopsis for it. Right now, it's just myself talking in that because, unfortunately, Tectash had a, what was it, emergency and that kind of stuff or whatever, so we're going to come back to a part 2 later with him next week, and that, where I get to bombard him with all these questions and have him talk to me more about, his favorite things. But yes, the nurses are awful. They're so wonderfully awful. Like the very first Silent Hill, what I was telling Tectash and ever back when he was here was the thing I love about the Silent Hill movie is the guy that plays Pyramid Head. He is also the one that plays the janitor, and he also plays a few different of the like fully face covered creatures. But he is actually a dance choreographer, and he is the one that came up with all the choreography for all the monster movements, how any of the monsters interact in the Silent Hill universe, and all the nurses are professional dancers. And the thing that's really cool about it is he was the one that like trained them and they're on like how they were supposed to move and things like that or whatever. And like, oh, just so good. Like so good. Like they made a new Silent Hill where they tried to do like the nurse scene again and it just wasn't the same. It was just untrained people, no spirit, no soul. And honestly, if you ever have the opportunity to, if you have Silent Hill on DVD, or you might even be able to look it up on YouTube, check out the special features because honestly, so much love went into that movie. Seriously, like how Maddie's saying, like honestly, all those creatures so creepy and ever, and they really did just a really good job at like making it feel believable, or that like these were actual genuine monsters, not just people being like, "Oh, I'm just trying to be a monster. Oh, I'm trying to be a monster. It's so scary." Okay, so I still need to let the latex dry a little bit more, but once the latex is dried, we're going to do a cut here and then we're going to lift it up so it looks more like a skin flap. Then we'll put some cover up on it, and then we're going to put some red and blood effects never down on this bottom part so it kind of looks like we got the bottom half of our face ripped off. I think I'm going to go for like a, oh, well, I went to the makeup counter and they said that they would give me a makeup look that was half off, and I didn't realize it was like the bottom half was half off. But ooh, Maddie, what's a movie that you want me to do a read a synopsis for? Let's do one for The Wicker Man. But while I'm reading the one for The Wicker Man, let me know what kind of movie we should read a synopsis for, because I love reading these synopsises. Give me a long synopsis of the movie Wicker Man. The Wicker Man is a chilling and enigmatic horror film that delves into the depths of pagan ritual and religious fanaticism. The story unfolds on the isolated Scottish island of Summer Isles, a place steeped in ancient traditions and a unique blend of Christian and pagan beliefs. Sergeant Neil Howe, a devout Christian police officer, arrives on the island to investigate the disappearance of a young girl named Rowan Morrison. However, as she delves deeper into the case, he encounters a community that seems to operate on its own peculiar set of rules. The Islanders, led by the enigmatic Lord Summers Isle, appears to be more interested in celebrating ancient pagan rituals than cooperating with the police investigation. As Howie becomes increasingly isolated and bewildered, he uncovers a disturbing truth about the island's inhabitants. They are not merely practicing a benign form of folk religion. They are actively engaging in a sinister cult that demands human sacrifice. The climax of the film is shocking and an unforgettable ritual where Howie is himself offered as a sacrifice to the ancient gods. The Wicker Man is a masterclass in suspense and atmosphere. Its haunting score, stunning cinematography, and unforgettable performance creates a truly unforgettable cinematic experience. The film's explorations of faith, fanaticism, and power of nature has made it a cult classic, revered by horror fans worldwide. Shutter Island, that's an excellent one. I love Shutter Island. That's such a good one. Okay, this one's for Maddie. This one's for Maddie as we're waiting for the latex to dry. I think that the bottom part is basically dry, but I need this top part to dry a little bit more. That's an excellent one. Shutter Island, I love it. Give me a long synopsis for the movie Shutter Island. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. Okay. Shutter Island is a psychological thriller directed by Martin Scorsese, renowned for its suspenseful atmosphere and mind-bending plot. The film is set in 1954 and follows two U.S. Marshals, Teddy Daniels and Chuck Owl, as they are sent to a remote and mysterious island to investigate the disappearance of a patient from Ashcliff Hospital for the criminally insane. As the two men delve deeper into the case, they encounter a series of bizarre occurrences and encounter the hospital's enigmatic staff, including the charismatic Dr. Cowley. The island's isolated and oppressive atmosphere, coupled with the strange behavior of the patients, begins to unravel Teddy's sanity. The film explores the themes of guilt, trauma, and blurred lines between reality and delusion. Teddy, haunted by the memory of his wife's tragic death and his own repressed trauma, struggles to distinguish between truth and the hallucinations that plague him. As the plot unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that nothing is as it seems on Shutter Island. The film's ending is a shocking revelation that challenges audiences' perception of reality and leaves them questioning the true nature of Teddy's experiences. Shutter Island is a masterful blend of suspense, mystery, and psychological horror, making a must-watch for fans of the genre. Okay, Maddie's saying that her and Sky just watched The Watchers and it was pretty good, but what freaks you out the most is that it's honestly somewhat realistic and makes me fear what AI will become. I hear you. I hear you. Honestly, it's like I feel like it's almost kind of like Black Mirror, where like really liked a lot of those episodes, I really liked that show, but like I had to stop watching it because it almost like freaks me out too much because it's like the idea of like this is stuff that could actually happen. Like maybe sure, it might be years down the road from now before that kind of stuff actually happens, but like I don't know, stuff that hits like to home where it's like not big scoopy boopy doopy scoopy kind of spooky stuff and that whatever. It's like where it's like, oh, boogeyman, or like, oh, this kind of galactic monster. It's like stuff that like is happening around us and that whatever I find truly terrifying, especially the fact that like it's something that exists amongst us and it's supposed to be something to help us out and that whatever, but who knows? Okay, I'm gonna read one for the watchers. No, seriously, Leo is definitely the one. Is a huge heartthrob. Oh, I about said Leonardo da Vinci. Oh, that boy can paint a masterpiece. But yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, so hot, so fine. Love, 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 love him. Okay, I want to do one for the watchers because I don't think I've actually seen it. Give me a long synopsis about the movie The Watchers. Okay, you ready for this? You ready, 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 ready? You can tell me how close this actually is to like the actual movie. Okay, The Watchers is a 2024 supernatural horror film directed by Ishnan. Oh, it's M. Night Shyamalan. And follows Mina, a young artist who becomes stranded in a vast, untouched forest in the Western Ireland. As as she seeks shelter, she encounters three strangers who are trapped in the same desolate location. The group soon discovers that they are not alone. Every night, mysterious otherworldly creatures known as the Watchers emerge from the darkness. These creatures observe the humans, their every move, their every fear. To survive, the group must adhere to strict rules, including remaining silent and motionless during the night. As the days pass and tension mounts, the Watchers' presence becomes increasingly menacing, and the survivors must begin to question their sanity and their chances of escape. The film delves into themes of isolation, paranoia, and the psychological toll of fear. The Watchers offers a unique atmospheric horror experience, blending the elements of psychological thriller and supernatural horror. The film's suspenseful pacing, eerie sound design, and enigmatic nature of The Watchers creates a sense of dread and uncertainty. That sounds really good. That one sounds really good. I would totally watch that and that ever. Okay. Do you know what streaming platform it's on? Because right now, Kevin and I, we have Disney Plus and that whatever with Hulu and Amazon Prime and whatever. That's it. Prime Videos. That's all we have. So if it's on one of those ones, I'd be down to watch it. Have you seen The Barbarian? And whatever. The Barbarian's pretty cool. Let me read you guys a synopsis for that one. Give me a long synopsis about the movie Barbarian. This one's cool. Kevin and I just watched this one. It's really, really cool. HBO. Okay, I'll have to see if like I don't know, maybe my friend Brandon and Amanda have like tons of movies on their Vudu and that kind of stuff. Like their mom like buys just like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of movies. Like if it comes out, she basically has it. So I'll see if they have it. Maybe I can give it a watch. But let me give you a synopsis on The Barbarian. Barbarian is a 2022 American horror film that takes a familiar premise and turns it into a shocking and disturbing journey into the depths of darkness. The film follows Tess Marshall, a young woman who arrives at an Airbnb rental late at night, only to find that it's been double booked. The other occupant, Keith, seems harmless enough, and they decide to share the space until the issue is resolved. However, as the night progresses, strange occurrences begin to unfold. A peculiar noise emanates from the basement, and a series of unsettling discoveries reveal a dark secret lurking beneath the house. This seemingly ordinary Airbnb becomes a gateway to a horrifying world where generations of depravity and violence have taken place. The film takes a sharp turn as it introduces a second storyline involving AJ, a struggling actor who arrives at the same house to sell it. AJ's presence adds another layer of complexity to the narrative as his own dark secrets intertwine with the sinister history of the house. Barbarian masterfully blends the elements of horror, suspense, and dark comedy. The film's gradual descent into madness is both terrifying and darkly humorous, with an unexpected twist that with unexpected twists and turns that keeps the audience guessing. The performances of Georgina Campbell and Bill Skarsgård are particularly noteworthy, delivering chilling and captivating portrayals of their characters. As the film reaches its shocking climax, it becomes clear that this house itself is a character in its own right, a malevolent entity that has consumed countless lives. Barbarian is a bold and original horror film that challenges expectations and delivers a truly unforgettable cinematic experience. I would check it out. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would check that one out. And that one seems, like I say, seems really cool. Kevin and I watched that one and and it honestly was super, 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 super cool. Okay. I think this is probably so what we want to do is we want to try and get underneath this. We want to try and get underneath this, and then we want to give it a cut. Give it a nice little cut. La 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 la. Oh. Room 1408? That is such a good movie. Maddie, come on. You are killing it. Those, like, oh, Room 1408? That one's got, what was it? What's his Cusack and ever? It's not Joan Cusack. Joan Cusack is the sister and ever. Is it John? Is his name John Cusack? What's his name? Never, I forget. Yeah, Joan Cusack and ever, or what was it? Like, oh, such a good movie. Oldie but foodie and whatever. I love it. Alright, guys. I think I definitely messed this up. 'Cause I've done this in the past, but I did the skin peel top part first the last time. What we're trying to do is create a skin flap. This is dangerous. Don't do this at home, you guys. Don't be like your son. Your son is being crazy right now. Okay. So I got one. We're gonna have to take tweezers and like really mingle it up and that. But we want to get these lines in so that we can actually like start doing the You guys do not do this. Your son is crazy. Do not cut this. What have I gotten myself into? Oh, okay. Okay. Whew. So we did that. Now what we want to do is we want to take tweezers and we are going to do kind of like a serrated edge. Oh, it doesn't look so clean and so crisp. I promise you guys, this is gonna all make sense. There's a method to this madness. Whew. Okay, sound looks good. Take this side, and we're gonna pop, pop, pop. You just don't want it to look so clean. You want it to look a little bit pulled apart. I do want it to be a little lifted though. There we go. Right. That's looking good. That's looking good. That's looking right. Take that part out. Okay. And then I take this. I'll loosen that up a little bit underneath it. There we go. That way we got like a skin flappadappage. Then we're gonna start putting makeup on over this, and then that's when it's really gonna start coming together, you guys. Then I'll actually start making a little bit more sense. Thank you so much for popping in and out, cute girl. Never, I really appreciate you even just being here at all today. Today was kind of like trying something new, trying something different, and we've definitely ran into a few technical road bumps, but that's how you experiment. That's how you find out new stuff. That's how you try and figure out what works, what don't work, all that kind of fun stuff. But okay, so with it, I definitely want to take this and kind of get this to come back down and stick a little bit more. But who knows? Who knows? At this point, we're just winging it. At this point, we're just trying to get something done. Something done for the end of the stream. And there it ever. But I love you so much, Maddie. Thank you so much for popping in and popping out. And thank you for those movie recommendations. And there it ever. There are going to be some excellent, excellent, excellent movies. Okay. So what we want to do now is we're going to want to take... Get that little hair out. Probably not. That's okay. We're going to take some concealer, put concealer in there over this top part. And then we're going to take white and go over this. And then we're going to start putting some red and start getting like the gore effects added. Give me the gore effects added. But first, I want to take this cup and I want to put it in a little baggie. That way the latex hopefully doesn't dry out and we can schmooze it for later. May have to get another bag for it. I think this bag is too little. I'll set that to the side. Let's grab our concealer. Pop. Start turning this into some skin. I promise you guys, there is a method to this madness. This
mostly madness, but I promise there's a little bit of a method to it.
Let's get our blender ball.
We can start having that take on the appearance of skin. At least compared to the rest of it. Might have to do another layer and ever after, but we want to just at least get these first preliminary layers down. Because what I'm trying to go for is like having it look like we have the top part of our face, but then the bottom part of our face got stripped off. The first time I've ever done makeup on for a live stream, and we are winging it, baby. We are winging it. Never. I am not one to give up. We are gonna get this finished, baby. We are gonna get this finished, and we're gonna start playing some Silent Hill with our spoopy makeup. With our super spoopy makeup. Okay. Go back to the beauty blender. Start blending it, baby. Doesn't matter if you get it on the bottom part because we're going to be putting new stuff on anyways. We want to definitely make sure this top part gets nice and covered with the skin color. So that's what's going to tie it together is that skin tone, baby. Gotta be a little bit quieter. I just want to make sure I'm. Oh, look at that. Clean up that line. Because honestly, it's gonna be so crazy on the rest of it. I won't even matter what my eyes look like. Probably won't even matter what my eyes look like. He'll just distract from it. Okay. Now let's take some Norman foundation. Ba-ba-ba. Hard to get into those corners with my long nails. That part doesn't look nearly as great. That's okay. Okay. Yoda mouse. Schmarges. Okay. Then what we want to do is make sure it's nice and lifted because we're going to be putting some black underneath it. Give it a little bit more depth. Then we're going to start going in with the red, baby. With the red. Okay. That's looking okay. That's looking all right. That's looking all right. Then take this little makeup wipe. Take the excess foundation off my hand. Then we're going to go back in with... My legs are starting to fall asleep. This NYX foundation. This NYX one. And then
And I want to get a nice, good white coverage on all of this. That way we can get the reds in there to really pop. I might end up using all of this. We're going to be putting mostly red and blacks over this anyways. We definitely want to get that in the mustache area. You guys, if you want like a professional to teach you how to do this stuff, yeah, I am definitely not that guy. Not that guy. Not even kinda. Not even kinda. If you want to see someone do some makeup that looks absolutely crazy, I'm your guy. I'm your guy. Definitely want to get some latex in there. Oh, we could probably actually even do. Where is it? That in there. That way it's like I can get it to stick again. Because after cutting it, we're definitely peeling it back off. That'll give it some more tact. Push that away. Those little bits that wanted to kind of come up after we had originally pulled it off. There we go. I'll give it some new tack. New tack. You guys, this is so nonsense. What did I even get myself into? Never. I did this like look like a few years back in that or whatever, but I feel like it went way, way smoother than this. Way smoother. Make sure that gets tacked down. Let it dry a bit. Right now we're just putting some white on so that when we put the red on, it'll really pop. We're also going to be putting the blood effects on here in a little bit. The goal by the end of this is to make it look like the bottom part of my face got torn off. Never. That's the goal. That's the goal. I don't know if we're going to achieve it, but we're going to get dang near. Dang about near. Might have me Greg dang about near. Oh, you guys. What did I get myself into? Why did I decide to do this before the Silent Hill stream? Who am I? I'm crazy. But we're here to have fun, baby. We're here to have fun. Okay. So let's grab. Okay. Grab a flat brush. And I'm going to grab this serpentine palette. I'm going to grab some red for the underneath. Just so it's a little bit of a darker red underneath here.
preliminary kind of like red going on underneath. We've got a little bit more darkness, a little bit more depth underneath there. Do it with a flat brush, that way I don't get nearly as much on our little skin folds that we've created. Beautiful mess, beautiful mess, beautiful mess. So then we're gonna take a Mondo brush, and we're gonna dip into some bright red, baby, some bright red. And we are gonna start going ham. We just want to kind of create the idea of like viscera. 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 Doesn't have to be too precise because screw it. We ain't too precise. Not in this economy. Not with this economy going on. We're also going to be putting blood over this as well. We just want to start getting some like viscera going, making it looking like kind of like we got like kind of taken off in there, whatever. I actually want to switch to a bigger brush. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to smack you with my hands and my rings. Smashed a ticket. There we go. There we go. That looks like. That's why I love doing the cotton underneath the latex, just because it gives like some really, really, really gross texture to the face. Remember, it's like we don't need to be too picky and that kind of stuff, because the more texture it has like that, the more it looks like kind of like melted, kind of seared, kind of like grossy flesh and that kind of stuff underneath it. Like, oh, it's like we're doing a little makeup tutorial today, and then thank you guys for watching. And there, never like seriously, this is just absolute insanity. We're making it twerk. We're making it schmirk. Making it twerk and making it schmirk. Yeah, baby. That looks gross. That looks like my kind of nasty. Alright, carry it on to the other side of the face. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is going to be such a pain to take off. honestly. Like it's gonna be like, because it's like all worked into like my goatee hair, my mustache hair, everything is gonna be nonsense to take off. That's part of the fun. I'm thinking even at the end of the stream and there whatever, I might take it off in front of you guys, at least like pull some of the big chunks off and there whatever, that way you guys can get some of that peely action. I want to take that all the way down to the chin, that way it just looks like gross. Like, oh yuck. I want to take an angle brush and get a little bit further in there. Yeah, doesn't that look so yucky? Like, look at that. Like, it looked like, like so gross. All right. Oh, my legs. Totally. Falling asleep. Also, this red is gonna 100%, 100% stay in my face. Like, no questions asked. It will 100% stay in my face. I just want to give it the appearance that, like, my face got ripped off on the bottom. So cute. So posh. Very demure. See how I did a cut crease on the bottom of my face and didn't do it on the top part of my face? Very mindful. Very demure. Okay. I want to go back in with the Serpentine palette and do this one, that dark red right over here. Get that one kind of like right up underneath the crease some more. Really darken over that edge. Probably go in and over through certain areas, kind of stipple it in, just to give some more variety, a little bit more depth. We are going to be putting fake blood on it. I mean, with like, trust the process, you know? You gotta trust the horror effects process. Sounds like we got a visitor. The Bocerito is calling forth some peoples.
looking pretty good, you guys. Like, that looks like I've got super gross exposed bottom part of my face. Alright, you guys. I actually want to do splat brush again. Really work. Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's looking botomous. Looking gorgeous. Absolutely smorgeous. All right, you guys. I think that I am going to do the blood and whatever off screen because I'm sitting at my chair right now and I definitely don't want to get blood on my blankets or blood on anything like that or whatever. So probably gonna be doing that off screen. So I'm gonna give you guys a cute little be right back screen and I'll show you guys the finished result. All right. I'll see you guys in 2 seconds. Okay, love you. Hold up, you guys. Before we do that, I want to make sure that I've got the overlay reset for that little timer. So edit. I think I'm gonna give myself maybe like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I'm gonna put in the chat applying the blood off screen so I can do it above a sink and not get it all over the floor or my carpet. Period. Be back in just a moment. Exclamation point. All right, you guys. I'll give you guys a be right back screen. Let's refresh it. And I'll be back in 2 seconds, okay? Wait, gotta actually click refresh on that one. Refresh. right, you guys. I am back. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, your son, and this is the finished result. It looks a little crazy, a little weird, a little gross, a little grotesque. Give you guys a little close up on the visual. Definitely very amateur hour. Definitely my first time Planet World. Oh, 1 second, you guys. 1 second. I gotta snap it. 1 second. 1 second. Oh no. All right, you guys. I am back. Thank you so much, Hogwai, for letting me know that the mic was low. I had it turned down because I was trying to get it to match my cousin's volume in there, but it seemed like his volume was coming through really, really low, so I wanted to have it be down just to like try and match his. Because it seemed like when I was trying to bring his up, it was making it kind of like a little scratchy, a little peaky, a little like, oh. But this is the finished look, you guys. This is the finished look. This is the first time I've done makeup on a stream in that. And it was definitely an experience. For sure, for sure, for sure. Definitely first time doing a stream with someone else, which was definitely new. Makes it so there's definitely more factors you got to try and take into consideration, just like how Hogwai was mentioning with the mic volume difference, and you never know when someone's gonna have an emergency, just like how getting the blood on my mouth. Oh gosh, literally blood is getting everywhere in my teeth. Oh no. But thank you guys again for joining me today while I hung out with my cousin Tectashstation. If you guys haven't checked his channel out, go give him a follow. He's a really, really, really dope dude. He's got some beautiful insights onto the world of cinematography and just films in general. Honestly, we talk for so many hours and that kind of stuff about literally everything and ever, but definitely it seems like most of the times our conversations go back to got a little black thing on my nose. Can't believe I'm worried about that when I've got all this going on. But he's a really, really dope dude. I've known him ever since I was a little kid. He's my cousin. We've hung out all the time when we were kids, and we stay connected in there even to this day. And he's a dope dude, so you should go check him out. But I need to get ready for our next stream. We got a stream coming on right after this, and I got to get myself back into sorts and get all of this makeup stuff cleaned up and whatever. But thank you guys again for 100 subscribers. We've been going at this for about 3 years now and that kind of stuff. I've been going into it really hard the last 2 years, and I can't believe that after all these videos, all these live streams, and we finally hit 100 subscribers. That's because of each of you guys, and despite all the crazy nonsense that happens, all the random snafus that seem to go on, and me trying to like learn as I go. I really appreciate you guys seeing something in me that I often don't see in myself. And out of all the other channels that you could be watching out there, I appreciate every time that you guys tune in to IZB TV because you guys make it worth it. You give me purpose. You give me reason to do this. So thank you again for helping me hit that milestone. Honestly, back a year ago when I was sitting at like 25 subscribers and that, I would have never even have thought that like this would have been anywhere near achievable. Like I was like, I might never even hit over 50. But here we are, you guys. Here we are. But thank you again for enjoying this little really bad tutorial in how to do some really, I don't know, somewhat subpar special effects makeup. And that I hope you at least had fun. Got to learn a little bit more about me and my love for scary movies. But I'm gonna get ready for the next stream. It's gonna be going on like right now we're at 4. I would say plan on like around maybe in the next like half hour to hour or so, you guys will see it pop up on your stream. We're gonna be playing more Silent Hill 2. Super excited about that. Super excited about that. Because I've never played that game before and so last time playing with you guys was the very first times we ever took a step into the Silent Hill foggy world. And we got some more puzzles we gotta figure out. We were in the hotel last time, and so we gotta go figure out some more puzzles together. You and me. But I love you guys. Thank you again for joining my stream today, and I will see you guys in about an hour, okay? Big bloody kisses. Never. I love you guys. Just give you an end of the stream screen, okay? Love you, bye, love you, bye, love you, bye.